Going live. I'll give it a moment before it says we're actually live. It now says we are actually live. Welcome everyone. This is Andres Restart. I am joined by my good friend Brandon, and tonight, as we usually do every Monday night, we're going to talk about Nintendo. But this time we're going to be talking about a game we've been waiting for over half a decade, basically, and that is the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We've been talking about it for so long, but now it's here, and we're still going to talk about it, but we're going to talk about us playing it. So, a lot of you probably been playing it over the weekend. There will not be any spoilers in this video or this live stream, and the title says it, spoiler-free Tears of the Kingdom impressions. That is going to be the focus for tonight, but also we'll be talking about some other Nintendo news. Apparently, Metroid Prime 4 is rumored for 2023. We'll be talking about that.
Ooh.
We'll also be going into some Switch sales and what's being said about Switch 2 or lack thereof. That is the plan for the evening. Before we continue, Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Very tired right now. I got home from work. Had to stay late. I've been staying late at work like all week. I have had time to play Tears of the Kingdom, but not as much as I'd want. I'm like 8 to 10 hours in, and if I had more time, I'd be 30, 40 hours in if I had all the time I wanted to play this game. So, yeah. I mean, earlier in the week, I guess a little update. I did say last week I had gotten Xenoblade 3 DLC, but I hadn't started it before the podcast. But I did finish it. I actually finished it before Tears of the Kingdom, which didn't take me as long as I thought it was going to. I only put about 20 hours into it.
Sure.
And I did rush the last area, but honestly, there wasn't that much rushing I had to do because it was pretty just straightforward shot to the end. So it's a shorter DLC than I thought it was gonna be, but not by like a ton of time. Maybe like 5-10 hours shorter than I thought.
Yeah. My take on Future Redeemed is that it is easier to get to the end than Torna the Golden Country, but it wouldn't say because it's smaller. There's a lot to do, but the game doesn't force you to do it. In Torna, they force you to do a lot before progressing. They literally force you to do side quests in order to progress. You can kind of bypass all of that in Future Redeemed, and I think that's probably the biggest difference, and that's why people are going to finish it faster than Torna. But if you want that extra content, it is there. There's tons of side quests and side stories and extra spaces to explore and discover and lots of enemies. It feels like a bigger world to me.
I do have almost the entire map filled out, and I did a lot of the side quests, but there's still more to do. I imagine if I wanted 100% of the DLC, it'd be another 5-10 hours. But I did get like a lot of stuff. I didn't go back and fill out some of the stuff I collected at the end for my Collectopedia, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm at, but last I checked it was 92%. So I did a lot of the Collectopedia. I think my Monsterpedia is at something like 60 or 70%. I did a lot. I
did a chunk.
Pretty much every area I explored thoroughly and did everything that I was high enough level to do at the time. And I did even go back to some areas. So I don't think there's a ton more to do for me personally.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't. It sounds like you might have done a little bit more than me. I definitely tried to clear out some areas, but once we were getting closer to the release for Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, okay, I gotta finish this pretty quick. And I think you only finished it like a few hours after I did.
I had time later in the evening to finish it. I thought it was going to take me another 5 hours, but from the point I was at, I had already gone to the last area, and it only took 2 hours to beat the game.
Nice. All right, so let's check in with the chat here, and then we'll get into the swing of things. Guys in the chat, let me know how everything is looking and sounding, if I should adjust the background music, if Brandon is loud enough, or if he's too quiet, or if I'm too loud, or if there's something wrong with my mic. Just let me know. I just want to make sure everything sounds okay while we're still early on in the show, and if there's anything that can be adjusted, we'll do just that. We will do the adjusting. Giancarlo, you're saying everything sounds great or good. Thank you. I very much appreciate that. Oh, Taker610 with the first super chat of the evening. Thank you, Taker. And Taker asks, Wintable felt like a DB to me. Hot take. Is that a smudge on my computer? A DB. What does a DB mean? Like a Debbie Downer? No, a down.
Yeah, I'm not sure what
DB
would
Dragon
mean.
Ball. Oh, wait. A divine beast. Yes, that makes sense. Gotcha. I actually haven't done any dungeons yet. That's where I'm at. It's not for a lack of playing. I've been playing a lot. I've just been doing other stuff. Like I am slowly progressing the story. I've gone a couple of the memory cutscenes already. I
haven't even figured out that those were in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you knew there were cutscenes, so I don't think that's really.
I knew that they were likely in the game, but there's nothing that in the game so far that confirmed. Like I haven't seen any hints of them in the game itself yet.
Yeah. Well,
I have no idea how they work.
Yeah. We'll get more to our experience of the game so far a little bit later. But let me kind of just go through the chat here. Giancarlo added me. Nate Drake said to me, Metroid Prime 4 will be Switch only and released this holiday season, early 2024 on Family Board. So that's interesting. I would have to see proof of that to believe that 100% that he said it. But I mean, it's not really too far from what we did see him say publicly. So that's totally possible. If there is no Switch 2 this year, Metroid Prime 4 taking the spotlight for the holiday, I think is a great idea. I say that as a Metroid fan, and I know that there are a lot of people who don't believe in Metroid, but you should. You really should. It's really good. Like, the Metroid series is one of the most critically acclaimed series in history. That is not hyperbole. It is. So, obviously, review scores are subjective, right? Like, that is an opinion, right. But it is objective that those scores exist. So, objectively, that there are opinions from journalists that praise Metroid higher than most other series. That is a fact. Now, obviously, it is their opinion that it is good, but the people who tend to review games say that Metroid is a really good series. That's what I'm saying. It's a very good series. I believe it's a very good series. And I think a Metroid Prime 4 is going to be the most ambitious Metroid game to date. And if it is coming out this year for the holiday, that's going to be a heck of a way to end the year. And I think once Nintendo shows this game off, I think there'll be less naysayers. But obviously, that only time will really tell on that. But we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to the topic. I just want to kind of go through the chat here real quick, and we'll circle back to this. Dark Shadow Rage added me. How goes it, fam? I'm about 30 hours in, and I just finally hit my first story segment. LOL. Almost got all the maps in the surface of Hyrule. Oh, nice. So 30 hours in, you've done that. I'm not sure how many hours I've put in. I think I'm definitely. I don't want the word definitely is too concrete for me. I think I'm around 20-ish hours. I think. I know that I pretty much put in about 10 hours by Saturday afternoon. So, I mean, I think it's reasonable to think that I've at least doubled that since, because it's been 2 days. I haven't really played that much today, though. I played a little bit today. I'll play more tonight.
Yeah, I haven't played any today, and I've been at work.
Yeah. I'll be playing that. I'll be playing more tonight, trying to get in a few more hours before I go to bed. Basically, instead of watching any show or anything, I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom. Like that's. I
gotta get up early for work tomorrow too, though. Oh, but Tuesday afternoon.
That's all you, baby.
Time.
That's all you.
Yeah. That's all Tears of the Kingdom time.
Absolutely. Joyce J, hello there. How are you? Thank you for modding. Hello there, Instinct. Hello there, Samuel. How are you? Yeah, Metroid Prime 4 is going to be hype. Darcy. I'm reading what you're saying. Some people are saying it. I don't know if this counts as a spoiler. It's something you can do in the game. Something I predicted. I agree. Man,
I mean, it's essentially just a function of the last game that's still in this game.
Do you think I should?
I don't know if that counts as a spoiler.
It's not story related.
I mean, we can't talk about the game at all if we don't count something like that as not a spoiler. I feel like it's gonna be very hard to talk about the game in general.
Yeah, so you can ride the dragons. Yes, we can ride the dragons. It's pretty cool, and yeah, if you ride the dragons, you can collect their materials. And the dragons were already in Breath of the Wild. The only thing that's changed is that instead of them damaging you, you can get on top of them now. I want to say they're bigger. They feel bigger.
I read the wrong comment. That wasn't even what I thought. There was a different Darcy comment. But yeah, that's not a spoiler either. That's just kind of cool. I didn't know that though.
Yeah, it's. I saw one and I was just like, oh, all right, let's fly near it. Let's see if anything changes. Oh, it looks about the same, but what if I get closer? Huh. What if I try landing on top of it? And I took the risk, and the reward was incredible. Yeah, and nice. I rode it for a long time. It took me to many, many crazy places. It was like a cruise ship in the air. It was cool. It was very cool. And I got some good materials from it to make weapons. Yeah, so you want powerful weapons? Ride the dragons. You'll get good material from them. You can just fuse that to your weapons. Yeah. Let's see here. Yes, Andrew, we can ride them now. Alrighty. Samuel, Tears of the Kingdom is like 2 times the size of Breath of the Wild.
More like, it's almost 3.
It depends how you look at it, because the Sky Islands are they're not all over the place. The Sky Islands, you know.
True.
But I mean, flying through the air, I feel like that should count. You know, it's like saying, do we not count the field in Breath of the Wild? We count the field. True. So I do feel like there's less to and I could be mistaken. I feel like there's less to explore in the air than there is in the surface and the depths. But maybe I just haven't seen that much yet.
The depths seem pretty extensive from what I've explored so far.
Yeah, the depths are very extensive. Very much. Yeah. All right, so let's just let's start diving into topics, Brandon. Now, what I want to focus on first is the Nintendo Switch sales. So,
gotcha.
I believe, I'm just remembering off the top of my head, the Switch has sold over 125 million.
Dang.
Yeah. And in terms of software, it's sold over 1 billion lifetime. Yes. Hardware, 125.62 as of March 31st, 2023. And software, over 1 billion.
Over 1 billion.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. It's crazy. And something else here.
What was it at last fiscal... When did they... Every fiscal quarter, I guess, they update.
We were at about 120 3 months ago. Or 118, around that range. So since December to March, they've added about 5 to 7 million. I have to double check, but around that. Yeah. Looking at the top 10 selling Switch games currently, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is at 53.79, Animal Crossing's at 42.21, Smash Ultimate's at 31, Breath of the Wild is at 29.81. If you count Wii U sales, it's definitely over 30 million.
Yeah.
Sword and Shield is still currently the fifth best-selling Switch game and best-selling Pokemon game at 25.82. Odyssey is at 25.76, but what's interesting here is that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the game that came out this past November, it's only been out for about half a year. It's at 22.1 million. It's just about
my soul.
It's just about 3.5 million away from Sword and Shield. I bet it will pass Sword and Shield before the end of the year.
Almost certainly.
Yeah. Once the DLC comes around, I think that'll change some things up. So that's great. Off the top of my head, I believe Splatoon 3 has sold. I mean, they said 10 million, but that was around there for the holidays. So I wonder if those reports were a little off. Splatoon 3 sales. Let me just check that real quick. Oh, apparently 10.67 million. Okay, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Splatoon 2 sales
slowed down a lot though.
Right, because I thought it was like kind of already there beforehand.
Yeah.
Splatoon 2 is at 13.3. Like, for example, what's interesting is that I believe Scarlet and Violet for the holidays, they sold about 20 million already, and they've only added about 2 million since then. So it does seem like these first few months there's been quite a bit of slowdown. So might not be that easy to hit the 25 mark after all, but I mean, if it could hit 2 in like 3 months, I bet it could probably hit 3.5 in 9 months. Especially if you give it another holiday with the DLC, I think Scarlet and Violet will become the best-selling Pokemon games. And also what's interesting, Prime Remastered, which came out in the middle of February, without much, marketing, sold over 1 million.
Pretty good.
Not bad, not bad. Now, will it get to the 2-3 million mark? Only time will really tell. It hasn't been on the market for a very long time. I guess what, like 6 to 7 weeks? Prime Remastered release date. Yeah. Well, it's been out for longer today, but we're just talking about as of March 31st. Yeah. Release date.
A month and a half or something.
Yeah, something like that. I'm trying to remember. It's all a blur to me. February 8th. So it actually had a lot of February. So most of February, so maybe like 7 weeks. Like 7 weeks.
When did the physical edition come out?
A couple weeks later. Like
Still
the 20th?
February, I think.
February 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah. But regardless, less than 2 months on the market, it sold over 1 million copies, which is promising. It's promising for a remaster. Remasters don't sell as well as a mainline series. They never do. Perhaps like maybe the best example is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That did not pass Xenoblade Chronicles 2. No. Even though people consider Xenoblade Chronicles to be a better game than Xenoblade Chronicles 2, it did not beat it in sales. Why? Because it's technically not a new game. Was I excited for it as if it were a new game? Yes. Was I excited for Prime Remaster as if it was a new game? Yes. But not everyone is me, right? But I am the hardcoreiest of Nintendo fans, right? I'm in the upper echelon of hardcore, as most of you are here, because this is a kind of like a very core-centric Nintendo channel, right, where we talk about
I hate Nintendo.
Yeah, you're here to bounce me out.
Troll.
Yeah, you're one of those people that's review bombing Tears of the Kingdom on Metacritic.
Yep, I gave it a -10.
Not bad. Yeah. But yeah, so sales are looking kind of good game by game, but Nintendo is forecasting that they're going to sell about 15 million for this next year. And what's interesting about that,
low.
Yes, because they sold 18 million this previous fiscal year, and the fiscal year before that, it was 23, and the fiscal year before that, it was 28, and that was their peak year. So from 28 to 23 to 18, and now they're forecasting 15. That's quite a drop-off. Now, when these reports came out last week, a number of news outlets were putting on the headline that Switch 2 is not coming out this year. That Nintendo said no new hardware this year. And I know some people side with me on this. There have been other content creators that have picked up on this kind of mishap, it looks like. That doesn't seem to have been what was said. It looks like there's been some conflation. I haven't seen proof. If some of you have a link or it can point me in the right direction of where it was said that Nintendo confirmed this, please let me know. because I have not seen that at all. What happened was Nikkei, from what I understand, and again, if you've seen the proof, please share it with me. I will gladly read off what the proof actually is. But from what I've seen, only Nikkei, which is not Nintendo, that is an outlet from Japan. They work with manufacturing, and sometimes they get intel on what's to come. And from what they've heard, the next Nintendo system is well on the way. It's in the works. But from what they understand, it won't be coming any earlier than spring 2024. So that's next year. That's Nikkei, right? That's not Nintendo saying that. People have been saying that Nintendo is saying that. And the reason
I haven't seen that. I've seen Nikkei saying it as well, but I have not seen any quotes that are from Nintendo themselves. I've seen them talk about their next system, but they never confirmed or denied it in any of the quotes I've seen. Right.
What was said, from what I understand, it was basic. I mean, I could pull up the quote. Yeah, you know what? Why don't I just pull up the quote? That's probably... I'll literally show you what they did say regarding Switch 2. And then I feel like that's probably the best way to go about this instead of just bringing it up from memory. Although I think I'll be pretty close. Let's just pull it up and I'll just show you.
I know they were talking about the reveal timing for the Switch versus the Switch 2 as well.
Yeah?
About how the Switch's reveal back when it was like the NX, you know?
Right.
They said that was like an anomaly. They're not really doing that. That's not a direct quote, but it's essentially kind of what they said. That was like a one-off, and they only did that because they were talking about mobile games, and they wanted to let people know that they weren't quitting console development at the time.
Right. So they announced the project to let them know. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So I pulled up the article here. Here, let me just share it with you guys, and then we'll just read through it together. All right. One moment. I'll put it on screen here. Let me see. Oh, I see. Hold on. I just realized that some of the audio doesn't work on this scene. This scene's not that important, though.
You want to hear something really, really random and off topic, but that's very interesting?
Sure.
I was just looking down on my desk, and I was looking at I have my Switch games here on my desk, and for some reason my eye was just kind of catching on the ratings on the bottom left corner of the box, and I noticed, for some reason, Walmart sold me a European copy of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It has the PEGI rating on it, and on the back it says UK.
You've been playing it on your Switch because it's not region locked.
Yeah. So what's up with that?
That is
kind of random, but
yeah, that is kind of odd. That was kind of odd. Let me just double check. Can you guys hear? Because every scene the audio settings is a little different. I had to adjust it. Just let me know if you guys can
hear me.
Yeah. Can you guys hear everything clearly? Is that still fine? I'll give it a moment. But all right, I'm assuming everything's be fine. But just let me know in the chat, guys. Having Hope saying yes. Okay, great. Thank you, Having Hope. All right, so let's see where they say. All right, sustaining the Switch sales momentum will be difficult in its 7th year. President Shuntaro Futako has said on a call after the results. Our goal is selling 15 million unit this fiscal year is a bit of a stretch, but we will do our best to bolster demand going into the holiday season so we can achieve the goal. That's not even a confident we're gonna sell at least 15. We're gonna try our best, but it might be a bit of a stretch. Like,
I think his kind of angle is he's trying to appease the shareholders, because if you look at the numbers, 28 to what was it, 23 to 18 to 15, that looks really bad. But if you compare it to like the drop-offs we see in other Nintendo consoles in the same years, which I think if you go for it in the quote he kind of talks about, like that actually looks really good. So I think they're trying to make it sound like, oh, we're really trying for 15 to make them be like, okay, this is something we have to push for. Like, give it context instead of just them being like, why are you only selling 15?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very late into Switch's life cycle, right? So we are currently we're currently in the 7th year of Switch. We recently had the 6-year anniversary. Is that right? 2017, 18's 1 year, 18 to 19, 19 to 20, 20 to 21, 21 to 22, 22 to 23, and now we're in the 23 to 24, which is the 7th year, right? So we've had over 6 years of Switch, and we're working on that 7th year. Still early on to that 7th year.
Yeah.
So this next piece though is what is kind of where I've read this and I'm like, hey guys, I don't think Switch 2 is deconfirmed yet. Because they say Fujikawa added that no new or upgraded hardware is factored into Nintendo's annual forecast.
Yeah.
So that
I've seen that quote.
Right. So that to me doesn't say that no hardware isn't coming out this year. It doesn't say it is either. What it says is that their 15 million only accounts for Switch and nothing else.
Right. Which, if anything, it kind of feels like it almost gives room for their to-be sales that aren't included in this, because it's kind of a weird thing to mention.
Yeah. So that's why I'm kind of I'm a little suspect of Switch 2 not coming out this year. On the flip side, I'm not gonna I don't want to fight this, right? It's like, oh no, it's still happening. I'm not gonna fight it. I mean, whatever happens, happens.
Either way.
Right. Exactly. We're on the same page here, right? I'm just kind of telling you what I'm seeing, and what I'm seeing is there's no deconfirmation. I think people are just running with that headline, even though it's not really the truth, unless there's something I'm missing. If there's something I'm missing, please send it to me. I will read it. I will check it out. I think this is just conflation. I think people are getting confused.
I think so.
Yeah. Darcy's saying apparently he said there are no plans for a price cut on Switch. I wonder about that because I heard something about that recently too. Let me I haven't actually read that article
technically, there doesn't need to be. If the Switch 2 comes out at like $400, they can still keep the Switch at $300 and $350. There's no reason why they couldn't do that.
Yeah,
strange.
So there's this article from IGN that actually came up from I think Video Games Chronicle initially reported on it. All right, so this is an article from Video Games Chronicle. Let me pull that up for you guys. It talks about the lack thereof of a price cut, apparently. I haven't read this article yet, so forgive me. Nintendo says it has no plans to cut Switch prices despite slowing sales. Okay, that's the headline, but that is just a headline. Let's look for a quote. All right, let's see here. However, Fujikawa added that cutting prices to boost sales isn't an option that's currently under consideration. With regard to hardware, prices for certain materials have fallen, but overall costs remain high. We must continue to account for the impact of factors such as inflation and foreign exchange rates. Interesting. Production was highly impacted during the previous fiscal year, so we are ensuring our parts procurement occur far enough in advance to ensure stable production. Even if raw material prices decrease, it will take time for this to be reflected in the manufacturing costs. Currently, there are no plans to reduce the price of our hardware during this fiscal year. So let's just, okay, currently, what this means is it's subject to change. So it is within the realm of plausibility that there still could be a price cut for Switch this year. Am I saying you should plan for one? No, I'm not saying you should plan for one. Nintendo's not necessarily planning for one. But when they use this word currently, there are no plans. That means 3 months from now, there could be plans. So, it basically a lot of things that are being said right now. Oh, no hardware this year. That wasn't said. There's just different things that are going on. There may be a price cut. There may not be a price cut. It's a tough call. So, let's come back to our faces. I think we read what we need to read. One moment. Let me pull this up here. That turned off the audio, but I'll bring it back in a moment.
How could you do this?
I'm a sinner. All right.
I must be heard.
Yeah. All right. We're back. Okay, cool. So, yeah. All this stuff. I think it's kind of hard to say what's gonna happen for sure, right? Because on one end you could say, okay, so Fujikawa is saying there are currently no plans for a price cut. Okay, but if hardware sales are dipping down year by year, right? 28 to 23 to 18, and now they're forecasting maybe 15, and that's going to be a stretch. Maybe they should do new hardware, and they say that their forecast doesn't account for any hardware there. So I think that actually kind of suggests that maybe there will. But now you have Nikkei and a lot of insiders supporting this notion that it won't be coming out this year, even though no one knows for a fact. It is something where you got to think, okay, well, from what most people are saying, it doesn't sound like it's coming out this year, but Nintendo hasn't outruled it either. And when you consider the dropping of sales, you got to think they're going to do something, right? But then they say they're not going to do a price drop. What are they going to do? Are they just going to be like, well, okay, I guess we're done?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like, first off, they don't have to do a price cut is the first thing, necessarily, because I think that they will definitely release the new Switch for a higher price than any of the Switches currently on the market. Like, I think it would be at least $50 more than the OLED, so $400 at least.
Yeah.
So I don't think they need to necessarily cut the prices of the other consoles. I think it would be odd to sell something that's so much obviously better for only $50 more than an OLED, but maybe that's just part of their marketing. I don't know.
Well, one thing they can do, which they've already kind of done, is just bundle a game in for the same price, so it's a better value. And it's sort of a price cut, but it's not actually a price cut.
Right.
They'll probably do that. Now, I don't know if they'll do that for every single bundle, but they'll probably have a holiday bundle or two that's kind of like that. Maybe they'll even they'll have like a new OLED Tears of the Kingdom. It'll be the same OLED, but just like a new promotion where like now it includes Tears of the Kingdom for $360, which is that's actually that's pretty significant, because the Switch OLED plus Tears of the Kingdom in USD is
like $420.
$430. $430, right? Because the Tears of the Kingdom OLED is $360 and not $350. Then plus the $70 game. Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
So right, they could kind of push it. Hey, we got a special bundle: Tears of the Kingdom OLED and the game, $360 for the holidays. Let's get the. And if they do that, man, that's gonna be a heck of a bundle. A lot of people will buy that. That'll be a big seller, and that's something that I think will, that would be something that would help Tears of the Kingdom approach like Breath of the Wild sales of a huge bundle like that. And I could see something like that happening for sure. Maybe it won't be as cheap as $360. Maybe it'll be like $400. Maybe it'll include a Pro Controller or something. Man, that sounds really tempting, even though I already have the game. But point is that I could see something like that happening. I could see like a big bundle, even if it's not Zelda, although Zelda I think is... No, there's gonna be a Zelda bundle. Like, me thinking on it, how are they not gonna bundle Zelda for the holiday when it's their biggest release of the year? So yeah, I think we'll get something like that for the holiday. That'll help a little bit, but like they're gonna have to do something. They can't just let their year just be complete doo doo, can they?
I mean, if they hit 15 million, is that bad though? I don't think it really is. I don't think they really have to worry. I think the next fiscal year will be the year where it's like actually like the sales are not that great.
Yeah.
Because at the moment they're still pretty much competing with like PS5 and Xbox Series X for the most part. They're not like that far off pace.
Right.
But next year they might be, like a 10 million units down or something. So that's, not very good.
Sure.
If they wanted to keep up pace with the other consoles. So I don't know if they necessarily need to hit more than 15 million this year to just be fine. Because that's still really good momentum. And Tears of the Kingdom's keeping everybody focused on Switch as well. So I think I do think if they don't do it next year, though, that would be that's definitely the latest. Like holiday 2024 feels like the latest if they want to keep the momentum going.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. I think you bring up a good point, Brandon. Like 15, even though it's another year where they're gonna see downward sales, 15 is still pretty good. So if
More
they're
than the Wii U sold in its entire lifetime.
if you look at it like that, but of course back during the Wii U era, they also had the 3DS that was kicking, right? The Switch is their only platform. So
I
that
mean,
yeah.
this is pretty much 3D because the 3DS sold, I think like 80 to 100 million. I forget exactly where, but it was out for like 8 years. I think it
Yeah.
was only really selling like 10 million a year, maybe 15 million in its peak years, I'd imagine. So I
Lifetime
don't think
sales
it
for 3DS are just shy of 76 million. It's like
76. Okay,
75.94.
so it was
Yeah.
around 80.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if I can pull up a year by year sales.
Yeah, I don't imagine it ever really. Maybe a peak year might be like 15 million.
Yeah, this is just showing me by region. I'll have to look it up later. But yeah, well, yeah. We'll come back to that later. Anyway, it's all about 75. 15 it's a solid number. I think is the main point. Like that they can get by
Yeah.
with 15 million in sales for a year. I think you're right in that. My concern is that they may take too long to move on to the next system, right? Because
Right.
if what Nikkei is saying is true, supposedly that means not even by the end of this fiscal year. So beyond March 31st, right? Like the earliest possible being
Right.
April. If they were to do something like that, they would have to announce it, and it doesn't look like they would be. It wouldn't be announced this year, probably,
No.
because like that would ruin sales even more for the holidays.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to do a price cut to kind of counterbalance that, then they're running out of options in terms of like pushing sales. So it's kind of one of those scenarios where if the Nikkei report is correct, Switch 2 will not be even announced this year. So for those kind of hoping we get an announcement this year, if you believe the Nikkei report, I don't think that's happening. Unless Nintendo wants to just shoot both their feet. Like, not just one, both. So I don't see that happening unless the report is wrong.
I think I do have a feeling that Nintendo might be trying to wait as long as possible to release this new system, though. Not just because how well the Switch is doing, but because I feel like the longer they wait, the more interesting the product is. And there's also a lot of features that need to be in place day one if they want to sell. So like they need to, first off, they need a chip that's cheap enough to actually get a good jump graphically while maintaining like good battery life and everything while maintaining a good price. Because I don't think
Sure.
they should go over like $400. I think $400 is kind of the max I think they should target. And they want to make a profit, so that's going to be difficult. And they need to make sure things like backwards compatibility are there day one for every game. They need to make sure that your accounts transfer over and all your cloud saves are going to work day one and everything is going to be good. And from what I hear, and I didn't know this till recently, but apparently in the past Nintendo has used mostly AMD hardware, as most consoles have. And AMD has kind of like baked in backwards compatibility very often because they've been doing consoles for so long and a lot of them have wanted backwards compatibility. They just kind of build that into the hardware now. But Nvidia apparently doesn't really do that, and since the Tegra is kind of an off-the-shelf stock chip that wasn't really meant for what it is, it's probably going to be a lot more work to get backwards compatibility to work on the next chip. Not impossible, and the people at NVIDIA are insanely talented. I mean, they have achieved stuff that a lot of people can. It almost feels like we're living in the future with things like ray tracing and DLSS 3 frame generation using AI and stuff. Sounds like science fiction, some of the stuff NVIDIA is doing, so I'm sure they can do it. It just takes time and effort, and they need to make sure it comes out right. And then, of course, we all know the history of Nintendo having amazing selling console, and then the next gen, absolutely horrible sales. So they definitely don't want to do that again. They need to make sure that they do this as like perfect. So I think they kind of are a bit weary of launching it for a multitude of reasons, and might be just like it's really is in their interest, I feel, to release it as late as possible, but the sales dipping is kind of the only thing that's kind of forcing them to release it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of crazy that how quickly the sales are starting to dip. Like, I mean, if they only sold 18 this past year, it's a 5 million drop off. They're forecasting 15, but that might even be they kind of suggest it's optimistic. They might only sell like
Yeah.
13 or 12. Like there might even be kind of like a faster downward slope of sales here. It might not just be 5 down every year. It could even be more. So that could potentially be bad for them. So I don't know. I don't know what Nintendo's gonna do. I would say there are a lot of signs suggesting Nintendo has something big coming up this summer, but that could just be a series of games. That doesn't have to be hardware. But I do think there's a need for new hardware. So if it's not this year, it's
Yeah.
for sure happening next year. For sure happening next year. But to your point, Brandon, I think I kind of see your point in terms of the longer they wait. And what's another kind of thing to consider here is that the longer they wait, the more palatable exclusives become, because it's the longer amount of time that the Switch has become the main platform, the less they probably feel the need to have more cost-gen exclusives, right? So, for example, that next big 3D Mario, that might not be coming for Switch if the system's coming out next year. I can kind of see that being an exclusive, especially if they want to get people to jump ship over to Switch 2. So I think there may be some cross-gen stuff, but like, I mean, here's another. I mean, this I don't want to segue quite yet, but I'll just mention if Metroid Prime 4 is coming out this holiday, then that's them really pushing it as just a Switch title. But they'll probably want to have like a 4K update for Prime 4 and a 4K update for Tears of the Kingdom, and maybe they kind of save their
No,
DLC.
Tears of the Kingdom needs it.
Yeah, so like they may be waiting for like next gen versions of those to come out next year with maybe like some DLC added to them. So yeah, they may want like a bit more of a split between them, as we're kind of hoping. And I think part of that is implied by them taking longer, but we'll see. We do have other things to talk about tonight, though, so I'm going to circle back to the chat, and then we'll move on. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Brandon?
No.
Okay. Yeah, guys, I see we have about 80ish people watching. That's awesome. If you guys could like the stream, that would be super, super helpful. I'd very much would appreciate it. Thank you. Looking here at the chat, let's see. Giancarlo, 2024 Switch final year or Switch successor launch year, or both? I think Switch will still be going for a couple more years, but it will no longer be the main platform. Let's see here. Darcy, initially I wasn't confident in Tears of the Kingdom getting close to Breath of the Wild sales, but now I'm unsure. The next quarter investor information will be very interesting.
Then it will.
Yeah.
I'm very curious, because we know the pre-orders for Tears of the Kingdom, I believe, were more than Breath of the Wild. But, of course, the only people really pre-ordering Breath of the Wild were people buying the Switch day one and the people who had the Wii U. So the amount of people is way less. So that kind of makes sense. We will see if that kind of record-breaking sales continues, or if it just kind of normalizes.
Yeah, it's off to a great start. Apparently in the UK, it's breaking a whole bunch of records, and that's very, very, very promising for sure.
Nice.
Push Player Games, if they redid the OLED model to boost that power. Well, Push Player Games also said here, well, the power boost would have held Nintendo over for a true successor had they had like a Switch Pro OLED Pro or something. Yeah. Well, that never happened.
I don't know. I don't know if that. It depends, because it's hard to say what kind of technology is available to them. Like you have to pick a time, and then I'd have to like kind of guess. It's a much more complicated question than it seems at first. because you can speculate on what you think that. You can't just say, okay, what's the power of the Switch 2? What's the power of the Switch? A Switch Pro, therefore, would be in the middle, because we don't know if hardware of that capabilities exists or was ever made. Like, right? It could be less, it could be more. We don't really know what the theoretical value of a Switch Pro would even be, so it's hard to say how much that would hold us over, what kind of features it would even use.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I'm reading here, Aaron Raz, LMAO, Metroid Prime 4 can't run the old hardware. Well, I guess
you don't even know what Metroid Prime 4 is other than the name. How could you say that?
I think this is a great time to segue on to our next topic, which is the Metroid Prime 4 rumor, and then we'll get to our Tears of the Kingdom impressions. So, fact of the matter is, Nate Drake, also known as Nate the Hate, also known as Direct Feed Games, someone who is considered as universally as pretty much you can get to being a credible insider, is saying that he is hearing that Metroid Prime 4 is due for this fiscal year, and he's even speculating it could come as early as this September. This is what he was saying on Family Boards a few days ago. That's big news. Now, we, as in me, had heard a while back that Metroid Prime 4 is complete at PAX. I heard it alongside Nintendo Prime. We spoke to some people and we heard stuff, right? So, like, if the game's complete, then that would mean it could come out this year, right? So,
right. I mean, this kind of ties into the last discussion of like when the Switch 2 is going to drop.
right?
Because if the game is done and they haven't released it, then you got to start asking, okay, why haven't they released it? What are they waiting for? What do they think is a good time to release it? Is that before the Switch 2? Is that after? Are they holding games because they're not even sure exactly what they're going to do with the Switch 2's release? Who knows? I feel like this pulls up a lot of questions.
Yeah. I think I can make a pretty mean argument for Switch 2 coming out this year, but there's some part of me that's like...
they said they don't currently have plans to drop the price, but that kind of implies that they might change their mind, which kind of implies that they're uncertain about the price drop, which, if you think the price drop is related to Switch 2, could mean that they're concerned about the release of Switch 2, but I feel like that's kind of a stretch.
Yeah.
That's like three different things linking to each other, three different leaps of logic there.
Right. So, I mean, speaking of, like, Prime Remastered, they just kind of got that out there real quick, released it in the same week as Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. And
absolutely no reason to do that, too.
Yeah, it was also
other gaps.
There was also absolutely no reason to release Future Redeemed in the same week or within a week of Advance Wars. They could have waited for June. My only thing...
And so close to Tears of the Kingdom.
Right, like the only thing I can think is maybe they thought if they had released it in June, people would still be so busy with Tears of the Kingdom that they wouldn't bother with Future Redeemed. Like,
maybe.
That's like my only thing I can think, unless they really want to kind of clear the slate. Or maybe they were just like, let's just get it out now. Like, I don't know. Like, there could be more than two reasons here. But it just seems odd that they kind of cleared the slate here. It does seem odd. And with Prime Remastered specifically, we've always thought that when they would reveal Prime Remastered, it would be alongside Prime 4. Didn't do that. So it leads me to think, is the reason why is because when they do reveal Prime 4, is that something that's going to be shown off alongside Switch 2? While I don't personally think that Prime 4 is going to be the launch title, I do think it's going to be a launch window, potentially.
I've suspected that for a while.
Right. And so, like, that makes sense. But if Switch 2 is not coming out next year and Prime 4 is rumored for this year, then maybe that's not happening. But then why did they not show off Prime 4 with Remastered? Is there another reason behind it? Did they just want people to be excited for Prime Remastered? Or was it just... there's like a lot of things that feel contradictory. That's why this is kind of like a tricky situation. And it should also be noted that while Nate the Hate has said that he's heard Prime 4 could be coming out this year, if you read what he said, it also leaves the door open for the Nintendo changing their plans, which happens all the time. So even if Prime Remastered could come out this year, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it comes out next year. That's in the cards, right? So it's one of those things where, like, if it comes out this year, then it's like, oh, well, okay, I guess it was coming out this year, but we still don't know. You got to take it with a grain of salt. But I do think it's about time for Prime 4. If we are towards the end of the Switch's life cycle, well, there's one game left that's announced for Switch that's TBA, to be announced, and that is Metroid Prime 4. So it's about time.
It's announced in the first E3. That is wild. First E3 for Switch.
Back in 2017.
Oh, yeah, 6 years ago.
And what's even more interesting about that is that they announced the restart January 2019.
Right.
Technically, a few months before they announced that the sequel to Breath of the Wild was in development. So,
yeah.
You know, if they only started developing Tears of the Kingdom in earnest, like around the 2019 time, that kind of matches up with the Metroid Prime 4 development cycle as well. And actually, you know, a Prime 4, they announced that before then, right? Obviously, they had some concepts and ideas before they restarted. And Prime 4 is obviously coming out after Tears of the Kingdom because we still don't even know about Prime 4 in any way but the name.
Yeah, obviously.
And, well, Tears of the Kingdom is out. Exactly. So, doesn't seem like a stretch to think that Prime 4 could be ready for this holiday. So...
No, yeah. I mean, it's been over 4 years since they announced the restart development. And, you know, I do think this game's going to be a lot more ambitious than the other Prime games. And games do tend to take a lot longer than they used to back in the day. But the average Prime games development cycle is, what, like 2-3 years?
Yeah, it's a different time.
So,
yeah,
you know, 4 to almost 5 years.
Right, we're assuming Prime 4 isn't like a giant open world game either. Right. So it might not need as much time. But I don't know. We don't know what direction they're going with Prime 4. And what it is, whatever it is, could be really exciting. So maybe we'll see. What
I do know is that no matter what direction they're going for, I think it's going to be graphically a very impressive game. I don't think Retro Studios has ever released a game that didn't like push at the limits of the hardware. No matter what type of game, no matter what art style they've gone for, every game always pushes the hardware. So I know it's going to be a looker for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Prime Remastered, I think, is a good sign that they can do something special.
Absolutely insane. Probably the most technically impressive and probably one of the most technically advanced games on the Switch.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough.
Yeah, but you want to know it's another technically advanced game for Nintendo Switch?
Yeah.
The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
No!
The segue! Yeah.
Let's go!
Let's go. So we are moving on to our next topic here. I will check in with the chat briefly. Guys, if you could like the stream, again, it's super helpful. Let's see here. 10,000 noodles. Prime 4's open universe. That sounds crazy.
That'd be insane.
Potentially in a good way.
I mean, even just multiple planets would be new, right?
Prime 3 had multiple planets.
Oh, okay. I didn't play 3.
It wasn't open though. It was kind of like selecting them on a map and going to them.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if there's like a small little solar system.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like absolutely huge, but like let me fly from planet to planet. It'd be cool.
What would be interesting?
There's a couple planets.
Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe. Well, I'm kind of like against it, but it kind of depends on how it's done. Cause like we always just like most Metroid games take place on one planet, right? And they design a map. What if they just designed a map that's kind of a large map that goes beyond the scope of a single planet, in the sense that maybe the planets are interconnected, maybe they have warp points, maybe it's something really like crazy where it's two planets that have crashed into each other partially, so there's like maybe like maybe like an asteroid belt or like a star
Right.
field belt that you can kind of climb or jump through. And so
Oh,
there's
that'd be
kind of like
epic.
there's like bridges to these planets that you kind of traverse
Jump
space
from
through.
planet to planet. That'd be
Yeah.
insane.
So it's almost it's kind of like a mess, but like in a very cool sci-fi fantasy kind of way. So
I think
it
they
might be something
could.
special there.
It'd be interesting because if you could just fly anywhere on the planet any time, I think that would be kind of game breaking to Metroid's design.
Seems like it.
But I would like to be able to fly around in space, and maybe there's only certain places you could land. I still
Yeah,
think that'd be nice.
maybe there's like a toxic gas or radiation that blocks you from landing anywhere you want or something. So there's honestly so many different ways I
Yeah.
could go about like
And
doing
often
this.
the planets, you often explore inside the planet even more sometimes than the surface of the planet. So there may just be places you can't get to from anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. But we'll save our more Metroid discussion later. I do want to move on. I see here. Lex says I'm having so much fun with Tears of the Kingdom. We are as well. It's pretty
Oh yeah.
darn good. So let's talk about Tears of the Kingdom. Ah, wait, I just see Rob Rules Review. What's up, buddy? We're just finished wrapping up on our Metroid chat. But yeah, man, I think this year could be a good Metroid year. But let's now talk about Tears of the Kingdom, Brandon. So,
All right.
we were talking about it earlier. I think about 20-ish hours into the game, maybe a little bit more. You're saying you're about
Right. I'm
10
like
to
about half
12.
that.
Yeah.
But
But
like 8 to 10.
yeah, and we're going to try and keep the pretty spoiler light. We may talk about some mechanics. We will not talk about any story stuff.
Yeah.
So, I think that what we talked earlier about like being able to ride dragons, I guess we gotta draw a line at somewhere. So, but you can do lots of crazy stuff in this game, and I'm constantly
I
finding
don't think
new
we're
amazing
really going to
things.
talk much outside the scope of like the first few hours of gameplay because we really haven't played that much farther. So if you've played the game at all, there's probably nothing that we could spoil, like other than like very specific things. 'Cause obviously, everybody's experience is different. We all go in different directions, but the general like experiences, if you've played the game, that's what we've had as well.
Yeah. So, like, Brandon, how are you feeling so far about the game? Like, do you think this is the GOAT?
Mm.
Or do you need more time to figure that out?
So far, it's feeling so much more varied than Breath of the Wild. When I'm thinking back on Breath of the Wild, I didn't think this at the time. I did kind of because there's a lot of like very plain or just kind of nature areas. There's not a lot of like super crazy areas or things that like blew my mind when I saw them. A lot of the map is beautiful nature scenes, but it's very, like nothing mind blowing. This game is like constant stuff where I'm just like, what is this? What is that? In all the environments, even the surface, I barely recognize where I am most of the time because it is different, and it doesn't feel the same. Like the way you move around, even just like getting to point A to point B feels so different. There's so much stuff happening in between. The world actually recognizes the fact that everything's happening. Like people don't just act oblivious like nothing's going on. The world's currently being affected. Like I don't want to spoil it. It's not even really that much of a spoiler, but if you, I won't say specifics, but if you go in the that kind of first base on the ground that you drop to, where you get the first tower that you're supposed to, where you get like the paraglider, the
Yeah.
lookout
Yeah.
base or whatever. Yeah, there's a shop there, and when the shopkeepers, if you ask about where they are, they'll tell you where they're from, and they're like, "Man, where I'm from, it got attacked, and by pirates." And that's all I'll say. And I'm like, it's not a huge spoiler, but like that's just something I was like, wait, pirates in a peaceful place like I gotta go see what's up with that. That sounds awesome. This is like give me Wind Waker vibes. You mean there's actually stuff like people roaming the seas as pirates? Like that's crazy. I want to see what's up with that. I don't know what's going on, but but that sounds epic. Like there's all this stuff already that seems like crazy, wacky stuff. There's so much lore, so much more. The world feels so much not more alive, I guess, because the world of Breath of the Wild felt very alive, but this one feels more reactive, I think.
Yeah, there's just a lot of depth to this game, pun intended, but there is a lot. Like to your point, like it feels more meaningful to talk to the NPCs now. Like this game to me feels more like a Zelda game. And when I say that, like one's a common Zelda trope is kind of like really quirky, interesting characters. And I feel that we're finding a lot more of those. I am, at least. Like I ran into this lady.
I think I probably would if I wasn't in the underground so long.
Yeah,
you got like 5 hours straight under there.
Brandon, you gotta crawl out of your hole and start talking to people, man. Like
I gotta touch grass.
Yeah. So I ran into this person and they were by their wagon and they were kind of like talking to themselves about, I don't want to spoil too much. I mean, there's nothing crazy, but like they had a wagon filled with toys and they want to take their toys to a village, so like on the other side of the map. They're like, oh, I think I went the wrong way. And I'm like, yeah, you went the wrong way. All right. And then when you talk to them, they get shocked and all their toys fall out and they're all over the place. And it becomes a mini game. It's like, all right, well, you got to get me these toys in this amount of time. And they're like, oh, okay, right. And it's actually really hard if you don't use your abilities right. Hint, think about recall. So, yeah.
That's smart.
But there's a lot of mini games like that.
Well, that's just, you mentioned using recall, but like there's a lot of the abilities I don't even think about using a lot of the time. Like there's so much to these abilities and you really have to think outside the box to like really use all of them to their full extent. Like, and like even just an enemy shooting something at you, you could use recall to send it back, and we saw that in the trailer. But like I keep forgetting that that's a thing, and there's just so many other features of these abilities.
I don't think I told you.
I keep forgetting ascend is a thing.
Ascend is valuable.
I keep being like, I need to go up. Oh, yeah, I can just ascend.
It's extremely valuable. Did I mean, I made a video, like a tits video on how to use the wing glider. And I don't know if you saw that.
I do love the wing glider.
Do you know how to launch the wing glider without having rockets? Or like a set path?
How to launch it?
Like if you have a wing glider, like if you want to fly on it, like how do you tend to do it?
Oh, well, currently I'm underground, so I keep finding these like supply places where I can build things, and they do have a wing, but they have this little like, it almost looks like one of those things you lay down to roll underneath cars. It's just a very small platform with wheels on it, and I put that underneath the wing, and then I just put fans or, you know, whatever I have, usually fans. I haven't got any rockets yet, and then I just sit on the back tail and it flies. Okay,
but if you don't have wheels, what do you do?
I haven't really tried, so I don't know what I would do, to be honest.
All right, so I figured something out and I made a video on it, right? So, did you know when you're on the wing glider, you can actually steer it by walking to different points? Okay. Yeah, I took.
Can you just walk to the back tail and it will lift up even without wheels?
I think so. At least if you walk towards the front, it'll dive downwards, and the more you walk left and right, it'll tilt left and right. So you can steer a pretty good amount. And if you want to land it, you can just tilt downwards, and it'll tilt down to the ground and you land it. But if you want to launch off, what you do is you use Ultra Hand to push it out forwards and upwards, bring it back, get on top, use recall, and it will remember that movement.
That's insane.
And then you cancel out recall while it's still moving forward, and then you have that forward movement already while you're in the air, and there you go. Right. You're good to go.
Because you're not supposed to be able to move objects you're standing on with Ultra Hand, but like if you use recall, that kind of gets around it.
Yep.
That's really smart.
Yep. So, I mean, as I'm playing, right, I'm figuring out more and more little things like that, and it's kind of cool because it's like, oh, so I can use Ultra Hand and recall together, right?
Right.
And for some bosses, I'm now realizing I can use recall and ascend together as well. I mean, I think you saw. Oh, I don't know if you saw it, but you saw I posted it.
I did.
The construct video,
and I found another one underground, and I actually defeated it a different way. I didn't see the video, but I assume you talked about the fact that you can use Ultra Hand to rip the blocks apart. I didn't know that you could do that.
That's another.
Oh, really? That's how I defeated the second one, because it turned into like a cube, and it kept flipping around. And usually it has the part you can attack on the outside, but that time it didn't. It had it perfectly in the center, so I had to pull the blocks off to get to it.
That's crazy. So you can use Ultra Hand to rip out blocks. You can use Ascend to climb it. If it's like a platform, you can just fly through one of the blocks. Yeah. And you can use Recall to reverse the block that sends at you, and you could ride them to get on top sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot there.
So many different ways to do everything.
Yeah.
So many options.
And that's it's really cool. I really am liking the boss fights in this game. I feel that they're a little bit more complex. They're more challenging. You mean
like the overworld bosses? Because we haven't been to any of the dungeons.
Correct. I haven't been to any dungeons yet. Brendan hasn't either. I haven't seen those yet. I'm just talking about the overworld bosses, and there's a lot of them. And apparently, I've only seen a few. Like, there's still a lot more to be found and discovered.
I've only seen the constructs and a Lionel.
You mentioned the Lionel. Was it different?
He was terrifying. I mean,
was his moveset different? I'm assuming it was.
Not that I saw. He was very cautious for some reason.
The timid Lionel.
I don't know.
Arnold, the timid Lionel.
Less aggressive than normal Lionels. Like he got up in my face a lot. Like I just kind of ran away, and he was just like, okay. He didn't chase me very far. But that was after I respawned from dying to him the first time. I didn't get as close. The first time, I accidentally got way too close, and he noticed me, and I hit him with an item that I had, some sword attached to a skeleton arm. It had like 25 hit points, and that did basically nothing. It's interesting. Have you come across armored enemies before?
Yes, there's some Bokoblins that have armor, and you gotta
so the
use
Lionels
a shattering
have
weapon.
Armor. Yeah, so they have armor, and that's why I hit him, and I was like, "Why is his health bar orange? Why am I doing almost nothing to him?" I legit didn't see the health bar change.
Orange. Because the armor I've seen has a yellow health bar. So is it like orange to yellow to red?
I don't know.
Or it
looked the same. It looked the same as the.
Okay.
It might be my monitor. It's not very color accurate.
Oh.
But it looked the same as the Bokoblin one. It's just kind of an orangish yellow.
Okay. It looks yellow to me. That's fine.
Again, there's this. It might just be a monitor difference.
Yeah. I'm not gonna get into a color debate. No,
I'm not colorblind. I actually have taken tests on very high color accurate monitors, and I can actually see more colors than the average male. So screw you.
I wasn't saying. Okay, I did assume you were colorblind for a moment. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
But no, he was terrifying. One shot me. I only have 4 hearts right now, so any kind of decent enemy can one shot me. But
there is a critique that needs to be said about Tears of the Kingdom. I see Lexus has brought this up in the chat.
I have a critique, but I'm curious.
We can't pet the dogs.
Oh gosh.
Can't pet the dogs.
Yeah, I'm so surprised because I'm pretty sure Aonuma actually commented on the fact that people couldn't in Breath of the Wild, and people were upset about that. And he didn't fix it. Like, what the heck, bro?
Maybe
we need the pet dog DLC.
I wonder if there's a reasoning behind it. Maybe they thought, Link would pet the dog with his right hand because that's his dominant hand, but his dominant hand is really weird and creepy now, so they're just not going to do that.
What? So?
Maybe
they just think it's against Link's personality to pet the dog.
Maybe.
But I feel like it's not.
I don't know.
I don't know, but I did actually have a legitimate complaint. This is kind of minor,
How are
but
you? We trying to
it
say
did.
that petting dogs is not legitimate? What's wrong with you?
Well, this is something that actually frustrated me while I was playing,
Okay.
and it's like when you're building something. Like I'm trying to build a car with wheels, and I want to put the wheel in a certain place, but the problem is like I wish I could suspend the platform I'm attaching to in midair. So
Oh
then I can
yeah.
attach it where I want because it keeps falling over and tilting, and then I literally can't include it, like attach it. Or I'm trying to force the wheel to go where I want it to, but then it attaches all crooked, and I have to disconnect it, and then
Right.
I have to like find some way to prop it up in a right way so I can actually attach it. Because if you put underground is very, very hilly. If you put the wheels in the middle, if you attach the base to the middle of the wheels, there's not enough height to get over most of the bumps. So you need to attach it to the top of the wheels. But it's extremely hard to do that because the platform is on the ground. So I need to figure out some way to like prop it up. But then it's at an angle, so it's hard to attach the wheels at the right angle, and it's just really frustrating. But it's not that it's not usually that bad. It depends on what you're trying to do. Most of the time, I found the building is actually really easy, but in that specific case, trying to build like a car in that environment was hard for me.
So when I've been in the depths, normally I run into like they have like these building areas. Like there's like an
Yeah,
ancient ruin that has like materials to build,
right.
and I haven't had the opportunity to use the wheels too much because like I guess whenever I see wheels, I'm like, okay, this is pointless because I can't turn with them, so I'm just not gonna use it.
Yeah, I just turn it off and then I
Turn.
just turn the thing
Right.
and I keep
Yeah.
going.
I've done it a little bit. It hasn't been seemed really useful for me, so I haven't really done
It's
too much
very
of it.
fast though, and it's a little bit more controllable. Like if I take a wing, I'm pretty much just going until I fall. It's a little bit easier to stop, right? Like in
Sure.
whereas a wing, I have to either like nosedive down to land,
Yeah.
especially with how dark it is down there. A lot of times you can't see.
Yeah.
So, a cool thing I did. It's not really that mind blowing, but it's something that I was like, oh, that's cool that you can do this.
Yeah.
You can shoot a you have those. I mean, you don't have to shoot it, but you know those plants you throw on the ground and they light up those
Yeah,
bright
the
bulbs or
light
whatever.
seeds. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just throw those onto your like car, and
Headlights!
then you
Headlights!
essentially you just have like a big bright light on your car and you just light the way.
That is such a cool idea. I'm gonna think of that. Well, you already thought about it for me. I'm gonna try that later. Um, Although it might be like, I don't need it because I don't want to waste it, but it does seem kind of cool. Something I was gonna say in terms of like putting on wheels on the vehicles, though, if you think about it in real life, when you're working on a car, when you're attaching a wheel, the wheel is not on the ground. The car
Yeah,
is on a lift.
it's on a
And
lift. Yeah,
right, so you do if you think about it like logically, it would make sense to
I
find
think
some
if
way to
I
lift the whatever platform you have that's attaching it, and that's what
exactly.
I've done. I've just kind of say I have like a rectangular wooden platform. That's where I'm gonna attach the wheels. I'll get like a beam to put it on top, so there's a little bit of a space, and then I just attach the wheels, and they fit snugly. And that's it.
Yeah, I just need to get something. A lot of times in the underground, there's not really uh, like beams. I don't think even on the platforms. You know what there is that I think might be useful is the little platform with the rolly wheels that I use to attach on the wing. I
Mhm.
could probably attach that underneath the base and lift it up a bit. But I'm not sure if it'll lift it high enough. I don't know. I could probably find something though to prop it up. That might make it a lot easier. But sometimes I'm just trying to like not I'm not near like a building place, so there's nothing really to prop it up with. Like I guess I could cut down a tree or something, but there's not always trees around where depending where you're at.
I haven't seen any cuttable trees in the underground.
Oh, there's a bunch, and
We must have explored
this
totally
some
different
might
areas.
consider this a spoiler, but if you go in the forests, be careful because the trees are evil. And they will try to kill you, and it is terrifying.
I
Because they
love
have a
that.
lot of health. Even if you light them on fire, they die very slowly. The best thing I found is to shoot them with a bomb arrow. They die pretty quickly to bomb
I
arrows.
just
So they have a
chop
lot of
them
health
down.
otherwise.
I don't know. Maybe there's different tree enemies because I've seen some tree enemies on the surface. You just chop them down with an axe.
The ones, I mean,
You just chop them down.
they get up by the roots and they run after you. How could you chop them down?
I chop them. I chop them down. They turn into logs.
I don't know. Maybe that would work. I feel like I've tried to hit it with a sword though, and that didn't happen.
A blunt weapon doesn't work. So there's you have blunt weapons and you have sharp weapons. So sharp weapons are good for cutting down trees and plants and things like that.
Know.
And blunt weapons are great for smashing rocks and armor.
Well, I tried it. No, that's what I'm saying. I hit it with a sword though.
I don't know. Maybe there's a different type of. Maybe it's a different type of enemy that we're talking about. Maybe there's more than one type of tree enemy.
Perhaps.
The tree enemies I'm talking about are like straight up normal trees, except they try to kill you.
These look.
They do move.
Very different from the trees up top. Like they're very skinny and very tall.
That sounds terrifying.
They're scary.
That's
bro.
like some Slender Man stuff. Oh man.
Yeah, dude. And there's quite a few of them. You're just walking through the forest and like every 10th tree could be an enemy, bro. It's like.
Yeah, I have only run. I'm not saying I haven't run into anything in the underground, but I haven't run into anything that mind-blowing underground yet. There was one giant boss that I ran into during a live stream last week on Friday, and it was mind-blowing.
I've seen a couple overworld bosses that I've stood away from, because even the normal enemies, if you're not careful, they will kill you so quickly, especially since you can't heal the damage they do because it just instantly glooms you.
You know what's also funny, because I've been playing master mode in Breath of the Wild leading up to this. The depths are kind of just like normal to me. Oh, okay, 3 hearts, no problem. That's what I was doing already. So,
True.
Yeah. I actually still only have 4 hearts. I haven't upgraded yet.
Yeah, same. I've only done one shrine. Oh no, I haven't even done the shrine. I have gone to 2 shrines in the it was so late on Friday when I was playing. I didn't do I forgot to go back and do the shrine that's in Hyrule Castletown. And then there was another shrine I activated near Sheikah Tower that I didn't have time to do either. So I've gone to 2 towers or 2 shrines, but I have not done them. And I have gone 2 towers, but I've gone 8 or 9 of the seeds underground, the big ones that light up the environment. Got a bunch of those. Most of my time ever since getting down from the sky has been in the deep, because it just seems so new.
Yeah.
Because even compared to the sky stuff, we'd seen a lot of that in the trailers. We've known about the sky for years. But the deep, we didn't see any of what it really is like when you jump down there, hardly at all. What it really feels like to jump down there for the first time. We never saw any of that. It's absolutely terrifying, and it gave me a completely different feel than what I was expecting from the game. It almost felt like the game turned into a horror game for a minute.
It's dark.
I legitimately got jump scared several times while I was down there.
Yeah, the depths are scary. It is interesting because the depths are so much bigger than the Sky Islands, but the Sky Islands are kind of the bulk of the promotional material for Tears of the Kingdom. So I find that odd almost. I wonder, maybe it's just what I've experienced, but I don't feel like there are that many Sky Islands. Is that just me? I
haven't actually, but just because they seem like they're kind of spaced out really far and they're kind of hard to get to, I haven't really felt the want to go to the Sky Islands. It almost feels kind of a pain at this point to navigate the sky because I don't have very much battery or anything.
Yeah, maybe it's just because it's still early game, we can't traverse it as much. Because I see some Sky Islands.
A lot of Zonite though. I went back to the sky to the part in the sky
where you upgrade.
Not where you upgrade, but where you process to buy the crystal things you need to upgrade. But I can't. I literally can't buy enough from the guy because he only sells 10 at a time.
It's so annoying.
Like,
But
where do I? Is there another place I can go where I can buy more at a time?
I don't
Because that's
know.
so hard to get to. Like, you can't just warp straight to there. You have to warp to another place and walk like 5-10 minutes to it.
I don't know, but I feel that
There's gotta be. I know another processing place on the ground. I have that unlocked. It's right outside the lookout town.
I want to guess that there's other places, but I know just fighting some enemies and opening some chests can get you the same material.
Yes, I have gotten that in the deep in one chest. It's very rare though.
Yeah, it's
from what I can tell.
It's like a really nice reward. It's like, here you go. And like, so, you know, all the bulk of my playing time has allowed me to upgrade my battery once. And I thought upgrading my battery once would give me a whole 3 ticks. No, it's 1/3 of a battery when you upgrade. You get a third.
Well, to be fair, that makes sense because at this point I have enough Zonite to upgrade like 3 times.
So you can get a whole battery.
I just need to buy it. That's my problem. Is I have all this Zonite, but no, I can't process it because I don't have anywhere to buy it from.
I also want to explore more Sky Islands because I want to find more of those bubblegum machines. The gumball machines, because each one gives you different items, different Zonite items, and there's a lot I still don't have. Like, I don't have rockets or anything like that. And I want to compile a lot because I still feel like I don't have that much, and I want to have like a large collection so I can really start to go wild with the building of stuff. Something I want to do eventually, and it's kind of like a motivator for me to kind of play through the game faster, even though I want to experience it the right way. I haven't done it. I've played 20 hours and I haven't done a dungeon yet, so like, I think I am kind of taking my time, right? I'm not rushing through it, but I want to be one of the first, if not the first. There's 2 things I want to do. Actually, there's 3 things I want to do. I want to build a sky city. I don't know how possible this is, but I know I can at least take some Koroks and trap them in places, and horses and bokoblins. So I think in theory I could trap them all up and elevate them into a sort of like civilization. I might even be able to get some NPCs. I think there are some wagon quests. I got an item with pony points, actually, that will allow me to, in theory,
pony points.
There are pony points. The pony points, the more you register and use the stables, you get pony points, and the pony points give you more rewards.
I haven't caught any horses other than an undead horse in the deep.
Well, if you explore the surface, you might catch some horses, or if you have save data from Breath of the Wild, you will already have horses from that prior game. Yeah,
I might. Does cloud saves work for Breath of the Wild? Did I have cloud saves when I stopped playing Breath of the Wild? These are the questions I do not know the answers to.
Well, I don't. You might have cloud saves, but is the cloud saves on your Switch to work and be read?
I mean, they're cloud saves, so it should be read by my account, right?
That's tricky.
Not by my Switch.
I don't know, Brandon, but I think you should go to the stables and find out.
Yeah.
I'm
just not sure if the Switch that has my save data ever uploaded it to the cloud or not. That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyways, with pony points, which you get by using the stables and doing stuff with them, you can get special items for your horse. And one of them includes an item to carry wagons. So you can carry a wagon of people. I mean, the trailer had a scene like that. So that's not.
I didn't realize you needed an item for it.
Right. I haven't done it yet. I just know I have the ability to. So I think if I run to a wagon, I can, in theory, attach it to my horse. And what's interesting about that is that maybe that's another way to get more people onto a sky city somehow. Now, I think I've heard that there may be a limitation to how many items you can attach. I haven't seen that yet myself. So the sky city might not be fully possible. We shall see. I'm not going to put it past me. I'm not going to give up on it totally yet. But there's 2 things I have more belief in. A giant rocket ship. I believe we can go to the moon. Not actually. It seems. Well, I don't know. Maybe if the more I progress, I'll see more. But it doesn't feel like there's that much sky islands. But I'm definitely curious just how high up into the sky we can go. So I want to build a rocket ship, and I want to go as high as we can with it. So I want to do that. But another thing that I want to do, and because someone was asking earlier, is there underwater exploration? I don't think there's any intended underwater exploration from what we've seen so far.
I have seen
However,
a giant whirlpool in Hylia Lake, though.
I
Definitely
already
want to go jump in that.
I went in it. It's pretty damn cool. I'll say that.
That was like the thing I was gonna do before I had to go to bed last night.
Yeah, it's really cool. You should do it. But my point is, though, is that while there may not be intended traditional underwater exploration, I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that we could force underwater exploration.
Yes.
We might be able to glitch through.
Build a submarine.
We might be able to build a submarine. I want to be the first man in Tears of the Kingdom to build the submarine. We're going to traverse this frontier one way or the other, whether Nintendo wants it or not. It's going to happen. Man, I haven't explored the seas at all yet. What if there is an overworld sea boss? I have no idea.
Dude.
I have no idea.
Dude, there probably is. Apparently, there's pirates out there.
If there are pirates,
that's what I've heard.
Yeah, there could be some crazy stuff out there. I haven't gone there yet. Like, I've been so...
Just the fact that there are pirates means they're using the sea infinitely more than they did before.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty much still stuck in, like, Central Hyrule. I've gone to, like, the tips of Faerons, and that's how I ran to Farosh, like, around the Great Plateau area where Faron meets. Like, I've gone to, like, the very... Lake Hylia. That's kind of where as far as I've gotten.
Yeah.
And then I've gone just kind of a little bit east of the castle, a little bit. Like, I have not too much.
I'm at the tower that I can see Lake Hylia clearly, and I can see the whirlpool, but I have not gone over there. And that's the only other tower I've gone other than the one at the Lookout City. So,
yeah,
that's about as far as I've explored the surface. Underground, as I said before, a lot of the underground. I mean, I even got to the point where on the map I can see the beginning cutscene area of the game. So like I know where that is in context to the underground, because I didn't realize at first. I was like, wait, there's something even deeper, and I was like, what is that? I'm like, oh, that's just where I was before, underneath the castle.
There is more elevations on the underground. Like, I was underground and then I saw a giant hole. I was like, oh, that's kind of scary. And I went down there. And there wasn't anything there.
I mean, I've seen giant like chasms, but not like a whole ravine.
Yeah.
And those are scary because when it's so dark, you just, dude, it's so dark that there could be like a tree like 10 feet in front of you, and you'll just walk into it like a huge tree. It's so dark.
Yeah. Have you found the Yiga yet?
I have found a Yiga member.
I've found a few different... There are some Yiga hideouts there in different places. Not like massive.
I found a hideout. I found a single guy who's disguised as a human. Or Hylian, I mean.
Earlier today, I found one that worships bananas. He's like, hey, do you want some grilled banana? You want some grilled banana? I'm like, no, sir, I do not want grilled banana. And I was like, are you sure? Grilled banana is mighty juicy and tasty. I was like, I'll pass. He's like, are you really sure? I'll pass. And then he jumps back and he's like, how dare you insult the great banana? And he comes at me and I'm like, yeah, that's a Yiga.
What would have happened if I said yes?
He'd probably be like, you're not worthy of the grilled banana, God.
Yeah.
I will slay thee. Something like that.
The one I've encountered was telling me, I already knew at this point, but he was just telling me that the root things, you can activate them and they light up. And I was like, yep, I know.
Yeah.
But at first, dude, funny thing actually, I didn't expect you to just be able to walk under it and hit A. So I was like trying to figure out how to get up to it, because in the shrines, like you put your hand pretty much right on the hand symbol and then it goes away. So I was expecting to need to be like up there. So I was like trying to use like ascend and things. I was like trying to like climb up there, and then I just accidentally walked in front of it, and I was like, oh, I could just hit A. Felt real dumb.
There's some challenges. I found a mini Yiga hideout where I had to clear the enemies, and it was at a place that was really high up. Then there's this other one that I found that just it's like kind of like a fort. Like they made it pretty hard to get in there. I probably have to build like a bridge to get across. Actually, that's probably what I'll have to do. So there's a lot of stuff. But let's kind of check in with the chat. Everyone's been talking about this in the chat. Let's go back and forth with the chat and see what everyone else has to say. Let's kind of focus this conversation with everyone here. I see we got about 80-ish people watching. We got about 40 likes. If you guys could like the stream, and maybe we could double the likes. We get to 80 likes. That would be super helpful. If we could somehow get to 100 concurrent viewers today, that would be nice. And it's only possible if you guys like the stream. Well, okay, it's not only possible, but it'll help. So please like the stream if you're enjoying the show. But yes, so let me get to the chat here. Samuel A, do you plan on finishing most of all of the caves and shrines and light roots and stuff? 100%. 100.
Yeah,
totally, yeah, that's gonna happen. The only thing I don't plan on doing is getting all the Korok seeds, because apparently there's a lot. Apparently it's like 1,800 or something. I don't know. That's.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't double checked that. That's what I heard. So.
That wouldn't be too shocking, to be honest.
Yeah, Sly Fox says they found the Rito stuff to be really cool. I'm kind of on my way there. The game's kind of pointing me in that direction. They're saying that's probably. I feel like that's probably where they want you to go first. Like it's kind of.
That's how I got that feeling too.
So I'm kind of doing that just for like story reasons, so I can kind of get the story in a more natural way. But something that's neat is I've noticed that there's more than one kind of story path. There's different like developments. Like if you go with Impa, if you find Impa, that has some story implications. If you go with Robbie, that has some story implications. If you listen to Pura, that's the main quests of the game. But they're all kind of main quests. Right. And so like if you follow Impa, I don't want to spoil it, but it's cool. It's cool what happens there. You discover some things, and it sets up more exploration. I mean, there's nothing you need, but it's cool. So I recommend finding Impa. Robbie, if you go with Robbie, that helps you to find the camera. He's what. I mean, some people just jumped into the chasms. Like, because I spoke to Robbie, he took me into the underground. I just
jumped in. I didn't talk to him.
Crazy. Here.
I talked to him before the cutscene when you first get into the lookout, but he didn't really have much to say.
Yeah. The Zesty car. Have either of you unlocked the auto build mechanic for the pad? You talked to Robbie. I have not unlocked the auto build mechanic yet. I guess.
No, somebody was telling me about that at work.
Yeah, I have spoken to Robbie, but that hasn't led me in that direction. Maybe I have to accomplish some things first and then do that. I don't know. I haven't been to Kakariko Village yet either, which apparently has another kind of main quest line. Or there's, I don't know if it's a main quest, but it's a big part of the adventure. So. Yeah, actually, Lex, I did notice they have main quests, they have side quests, then they have side adventures, and then they have memories. Like, what are what's the difference between side quest and side adventure? I do not know what the difference is, but they distinguish between side adventure and side quest, which is kind of funny. But yeah, there's a lot in this game. There's a lot. Samuel A with a super chat. Thank you for that super chat, buddy. Samuel says, "All right, so I can't theorize about Tears of the Kingdom anymore. On to Pikmin 4. Thus, how big do you think the game is going to be compared to Pikmin 3?" So, I'll say I think you can theorize about Tears of the Kingdom. You just kind of have to pivot. It's not just about what will the game have. It's more about what of the game. And there's a lot there. I mean, we're still kind of playing and exploring and discovering stuff. But in terms of Pikmin 4,
it's about future DLC potential.
There's that, right? Or a 4K update. Those are also things. So, but Pikmin 4, I think is going to be bigger than Pikmin 3. How much bigger? I don't
expect it to be like this hugely longer, more in-depth game, because I mean, Pikmin's not really like a super long game in general, like the whole series. I doubt it's gonna be like this, 40 to 50 hour game. I assume it's gonna be like 15, 20 hours still. But I imagine like the scope of some of the maps might be a bit bigger, but honestly, I think it might feel more open, more unique, but I don't think it's gonna feel like huge or anything. You know, it's still gonna be a very contained game with very, intricate level design and things like that. It's gonna be a very linear game, I imagine. Still, it's not gonna be anything that's super mind blowing, but I imagine it'd be a bit bigger in scale. It definitely looks a lot better than Pikmin 3.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why they pulled the camera back, so it can be more of a cinematic feel, so you can see more of the skybox and the backgrounds, and that's going to add to the overall scope of the game and just like the visual appeal of the game. I think the game's going to be bigger, but nothing, to Brandon's point, nothing like a substantial where it's like, oh, Pikmin 4 is a 100-hour adventure. It's not going to... I think there will be room for enjoyment that can get you to 100 hours, like with this, like if there's multiplayer and challenge missions like Pikmin 3, like there can be definitely things in there that could add a lot to the game, but it's not going to be like this massive open world 100-hour experience, but it's going to be a sizable, fun adventure. That's what I think. Let's see here. Who was asking this? I saw someone asking this. Oh, Lex. Oh, yeah. How is everyone liking the music? I love the music when you're skydiving after you scan a new map area. It is beautiful. It is super beautiful.
The music in the underground, actually, when you first drop down there, like you hear this real heavy bass in it, and it's like
intimidating.
Super intimidating, super scary. Like it's a completely different sound than almost anything you'll hear in Breath of the Wild. It just fills you with dread.
Yeah,
it almost feels like it could be in.
There's
Metroid
like this
Dread.
giant horn, like it's so
man.
It's so intimidating. But like I like the music when you're by the Skyview Tower. It's just very soothing. I mean, even now, if it's kind of subtle, but the background music I have now it's music from the game. I literally just have the game on in the background with it playing. It's just very peaceful and nice. I think the music in this game there's a little bit more variety. It's a little bit more noticeable, and while a lot of it is still Breath of the Wild like, which isn't actually a bad thing, there's just more opportunity to hear different tracks. Even like the battle music, I think the battle music is actually a little bit better, at least just more to my taste. It feels a little bit more epic, which is something I like for sure. Looking here, I see Having Hope's also been enjoying the music. Joshua Mackey, attach a minecart to your shield looked crazy. There's a lot of cool stuff you can attach to shields. This is something I started doing. I started attaching a shield to my shield.
I saw that tweet. You had 3 shields.
I had 3 shields, so I attached a shield to my sword, and then I had a shield attached to my shield, so on my back I had 3 shields. And it occurred to me, the idea occurred to me because like I had shields, but I didn't have a lot of inventory space for more shields. I was like, oh, I don't want to let this shield go. What if I just fuse a shield with my shield? Then I have double shield.
It's just a better shield now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I did the same for the sword. I had a soldier's broadsword.
Oh, that's funny. I did that for the Zonai swords. I was like, Zonai sword. And basically the pole gets longer.
You just attach the handle at the end of the other sword. It kind of looks ridiculous. Yes. There are some cool looking ones though. Like we saw in the trailers, we were like, man, what are those cool Zonai looking swords? Well, if you fuse a Zonai, or one of those construct horns, I think, to a sword, you'll get one of those.
Yeah, if you look at
that
here,
looks cool.
Right, and this is from an enemy.
I have this like blue moblin horn attached to a sword, and it looks like a pickaxe almost. Looks pretty cool. And then I have some other. You can make like Lizalfo spears pretty easily.
I have this sword right here.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I could tell you where to get it if you want.
No. All
right.
No. I assume that's part of a dragon almost. It looks like a piece of a dragon.
Well, do you want me to confirm or deny?
I mean, you can confirm if it's correct.
It is.
Yeah, I assumed it probably was.
Yeah, it is.
That's dope.
This one is from a boss fight as well.
I should have Yeah, dude. I was just like, man, I don't have any vehicles to put this on. Guess I'll just leave it there.
You fuse it to
Man,
your
I'm a
weapon!
moron. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say you're an idiot, but yeah. I think a
It's
lot of
just
people
the
don't realize
problem is
that.
there's so many different things you can do with each item. You can't just be like, oh, I can't do this one thing, therefore it's useless. No, there's like 3 other different things you could use it for, but it slipped my mind. You just gotta get it used to thinking, as I said before, you gotta think outside the box because there's just so many different possibilities you might not even realize.
Yeah. Sphere Master added me in the chat. Just wait till you get to the Rito boss music. One of the best ever. OMG. Okay, I'm
Dude, the
doing it
boss themes I bet
tonight!
are gonna be hype.
Man, because I was sort of making my way to Rito, but I keep getting distracted and pulled back. Oh, but I want to go do this. Oh, but I want to go do this. And the thing is, because I'm also making tip videos almost every day. I took a break today because I did the podcast. I was actually almost going to do it, but my computer crashed. I was like, hey, I'll just stick to 2 things a day. But yeah, so like I keep getting like sidetracked, but I want to go to the Rito area. I want to see what's over there.
Right now I'm
yeah.
getting my like exploring itch out of the way. I scratched my underground itch, and now I'm trying to scratch my overworld itch, and then maybe I'll have a sky itch, and then I'll go do some story.
So
But I gotta just see stuff right now.
one of the most amazing things I've experienced in this game so far, and it was a magical moment. It was actually during the live stream on Friday, for those that were watching. And so this is still the beginning of the game. It's still my first day of the game, right? Still figuring out stuff. I had real trouble figuring out how to fly and all that, and you got limited resources. I hadn't figured out that recall trick yet, but I managed to find a way. Oh, maybe that's when I figured it out. I might have figured it out that night. But I saw the dragon that flies by the Great Sky Island, and people were telling me, "Don't go near it. Don't do it. Don't go near it." And I was like, "But it's over there. It's far away, but it's possible." And the possibility just got me so excited. That sense of adventure was like, I know it's really high up, it's really far out there. It seems like it's impossible to reach, but there's a part of me that thinks I can almost get there. So I had to try. Especially when people told me don't do it. I was like, well, now I'm gonna do it. So I found a way to get to the top of the Temple of Time, the one of the Great Sky Island, that giant building. I got to the top and I explored there.
Right, I've been on the top. Yeah,
it's cool. There's not much there, at least.
Not really. Yeah,
no,
not much.
It looks like there should be
It
something
looks like
there, though.
might be. Yeah. There's like a whole platform with like steps leading down. It looks like almost like a cutscene might happen there later or something.
Maybe. I've actually seen some areas that I feel like there should be something there and there isn't. Like I ran into a coliseum or like an arena underground. I thought there was gonna be a boss fight there, but it was just some ice blocks. So I was confused.
Huh.
Maybe the game changes as you progress, potentially. I'm not sure. But maybe a quest leads you there. Like there's we'll see. There's still so much to explore about this game. But anyway, so I got to the top of the Sky Island, to the top of the Temple of Time, and I wanted to check that out. And then I saw the dragon kind of flying towards the Great Sky Island. And I was like, oh, this is the new dragon, right? It's that other with that dragon respect. This is the new one. So I was like, oh, let's try and get to it. And I was at the highest I thought I could go, and I was like, oh, there's no way I can do this. It's just we're not gonna make it. But then I realized, wait, I can warp to the beginning part of the game, which is actually the highest part of the Great Sky Island. You're a lot higher. So I got there and I climbed to the very top of that island. There's like a little bit of a, it's kind of high, right? You can get to the top, and it's like the highest you can get to, one of the highest points in the game, I think, unless there's other crazy things I haven't discovered yet. But when you're there, you're extremely high. And that's where the dragon was close to. And I was like, oh, snap. I can get to this. So I figured out a way to get. I figured out a way to get on the glider with my limited battery power, with my limited stamina, and I went off high up, so high up into the sky. And I've mentioned this before, but I have sort of a fear of heights. Maybe it's not really a fear of heights; it's more of like a healthy fear of falling. But this healthy.
I have a fear of heights, but not usually in games.
Oh no, I feel it in games sometimes. Like when I'm playing Xenoblade or like I'm playing like Tears of the Kingdom.
The only time I've ever felt fear of heights was when I was playing VR and I stepped off something and I felt like I was going to fall. but it was just like a quick thing. Like my brain was like, "Oh, you're falling. Oh, wait, no, you're
Yeah,
not."
I don't
And then
know.
it was fine.
I just I feel it sometimes. And when I say I feel it in my thighs and my glutes. Like I don't know. Maybe when I was a little kid, I fell from like a high up fence or something. But like there are some times when I experience that potential for falling, be it in real life or in a video game. I kind of sense, oh, I could fall, right? So
Right.
when I'm this high up early game where you're very limited, right? And I think what it was, because I mean I had the paraglider, so I knew I wasn't gonna die, but I think the fear of running out of stamina and battery power, so I would lose that opportunity to reach the dragon being so high up. That's where that fear is sort of re-simulated, because there was a limitation there, right?
Right.
But I got so close to it, Brandon. I got so close, not close enough. Like it was still kind of like 100-ish feet away, but I got close enough to see it in detail. And
Right.
this dragon looks crazier than the other dragons. Like it has, like Aurora Borealis is, right?
Yeah.
This
Northern Lights.
its horns were like Aurora Borealis. That's what its horns were. This thing was like a godly space dragon. And we were so high up into the skies, way higher than anything I've ever seen from Zelda before. And I was running out of my energy, but I was like,
right.
It's like so close, but
You're
not.
like, oh, but I can make it. Come on.
And at
Did
some
you have
point,
any like Zonite charges or anything on you?
no, I at the time I didn't have that much. I did what I could.
I've literally never even used one of those. I've never had something run out of battery on me.
Yeah, maybe I had a couple of Zonite charges I might have been able to use. But I think no, after a certain point, like this is all happening within seconds, right?
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I accepted that I wasn't gonna actually get to it, and I guess because people also telling me that it was a heavy story spoiler that I shouldn't, so it was kind of like, all right, maybe I shouldn't see this anyway,
okay.
right? But like just seeing it up close and seeing like this giant mythical creature that I don't understand as I'm like higher up in the sky than before, like that sense of adventure that I have, right? Like it was such a cool moment. It was magical for me. Like it was like real magic for me. And it was special. So I just want to relate. It's just a cool thing, and I hope I find a few more events like that in this game. I mean, I've seen some cool surprises, but it's just there's something about being extremely high up in the sky when you're like. I think the other element to it is that because we're so high up, there's like, how we keep talking about the moon, like you're like on the edge of the earth. That's another element to it. It's like you're on the edge of the earth, so like the stakes are higher, the height is greater, the threat is there. Like it adds another layer to the grandness and the mystique to this event. So it's a cool thing.
Yeah,
it's a cool thing, dude. It's a cool thing.
Something I've been thinking about. One of the abilities that, like, I haven't been using as much as I thought I was going to, is Ultra Hand, like, to build vehicles. Because, at least where I've been so far, flying, when you're underground, and I think a lot of it's because I've been underground, but when you're flying underground, you pretty much can't see where you're going. So you're just, like, flying blind at a very high speed with kind of finicky controls. Because you're pretty much just using physics to try to balance it. So you gotta there's a lot of delay in when you're moving from the right wing to the left wing to the top to the bottom.
Sure.
Inevitably.
Well, the steering wheel, yeah.
Yeah, without a steering wheel. So
it's technically called a steering stick. It's not a wheel, but same difference.
Yeah, it's not a wheel. Yeah. But I find myself getting a lot of times I'll see the building thing, and I'll be like, I don't want to go build a whole vehicle. I'm gonna have to just end up essentially throwing it away a lot of the times, and then it takes me a long time to build it sometimes, especially if it's being kind of
right. That's why I think auto build when
finicky.
You unlock that, it's gonna make a big difference.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. I was gonna say I need to go get auto build because I think I'll enjoy the function a lot more when I can just do auto build as long as I have the resources.
Yeah, and also once you get more Zonai devices, that too will kind of help. It's like, yeah. Because I also kind of feel that, like, I don't want to waste my Zonai devices, you know? But
yeah,
also, if I never use
when
them...
I'm trying to explore, like, a sky island, if I make a flying device and then I end up, like, falling or, like, losing the device, the whole, like, thing, I have to go build another one, I'll feel like I just wasted a bunch of materials, you know?
Yeah. I want to read a couple things in the chat here. First, Aaron says, catch you later, Andres. Great podcast. Good luck and have fun. Thank you. Have a great night. Joyce J added me and said, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll give you a little clue. Demon possession and underpants. Belief or non-belief lies with you. Well, that's a riddle if I ever heard one.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah. Also, Joyce CJ earlier said Rito Boss music was worth the extra $10 alone. Yeah, you guys are hyping up this Rito section. I may do it tonight.
Yeah,
The
crazy thing is, while I was at work, somebody who came in like at the end of my shift was also hyped. They were like, "Bro, you gotta go over to the Rito place, man. There's this ability you get. It's so useful." And they just like talking about how cool it is over there. I'm like, "Bro." Apparently, everybody just wants Doritos where, you know, it's where it's at.
This game seems a little bit more linear than Breath of the Wild, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah, definitely to start out.
I've heard there are 6 dungeons in the game, but
there's only 4 shown to you.
Correct. That's what I mean. So what are the other 2? I don't know. Yeah. And we already mentioned earlier how there's like multiple different like main quest lines a little bit. So I wonder if they're tangential or if when you do the first 4, it unlocks the final 2. Like, what if when you do the first 4, it unlocks a story sequence, kind of like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and then and then it unlocks the latter 2 dungeons or something. I don't know. Don't tell me in the chat. Don't spoil it. I don't know.
I will say the beginning of the game is much more linear than I thought. Like, even like the whole first cutscene obviously is extremely linear. You just like walk down a path,
but it's so damn
very
cool.
Slowly.
I think they handled it the best way possible, because you know how we talked about how are they going to handle this, because there's so much to say, and they didn't tell us the whole story, but they told us enough, and they told us enough while also letting us play early on, right? Because I hate it when you can't play early on in a game. You're just watching a cutscene for like 10 minutes. They did it in the perfect way possible.
I think it would have worked either way, because like, say for example, like Xenoblade 3 has like a 30-minute opening cutscene. I thought it was amazing, so it can work.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what the cutscene is. Like, I would have been okay with it because it's Zelda, but I just kind of like, what about people who aren't like attached to the story, and might not work for everyone. I think they did them the best way possible. Like, it's really creepy and atmospheric and magical all at the same time, but there is moments where they kind of give you a little bit of cutscene. And also, here's another thing: Zelda has a lot of dialogue.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you saw every single talk. Like, if you talk to her repeatedly, she'll tell you different things at different points in the beginning. It's not just 1 or 2 lines.
Times. But I'm not sure if I talked to her as many times as you can.
I kept talking to her until she started repeating herself multiple times.
I didn't.
I
definitely did. When she stopped, like every time she stopped to look at something, I talked to her. But
yeah, I mean, she told you
it until she ran out.
She told you enough, but you can get a little bit more if you kind of talk. If you talk to her beforehand.
The cool thing is that they're referencing actual like lore from the whole. They're referencing the imprisoning war and stuff, like all this stuff from Skyward Sword and different games, like actual references, not just this part of the map's named this, and like no.
Apparently, because I made the timeline video, and in the video I said, hey, look, this is just from the beginning of the game. This may change as I play through the game, but based off that beginning part, it seems to suggest that the game takes place in a downfall timeline. Of course, like Breath of the Wild, there could just be a whole bunch of details from all 3 timelines, so it's hard to say. Yeah. I think some people are thinking that this is more like a reboot. I'm gonna play the whole game and experience the story in its fullest before I decide that, because there's some really interesting lore stuff that's going on.
I found the King Daphne's mine underground. I'm pretty sure it's underneath there's a King Daphne's mountain, isn't there already? in Breath of the Wild.
There's a lot of stuff. It's
I
hard
think
to
it's
remember
underneath
everything.
that.
Okay. You know, I saw...
So that was a Wind Waker reference I was very happy to see.
Apparently, underground, there's a Gleeok section.
I have not found that.
It just, the name is like Gleeok something.
Yeah, still no, though.
I think I know where it is. I don't know for a fact, but I think it might be in the north. You know, remember the Typhlo ruins? That's the part where it's in Breath of the Wild. It's the Zonai ruins that are really dark, where you can't see.
Oh yes,
right. So in the Typhlo ruins in Breath of the Wild, there are dragon statues, and apparently there's like a 3-headed dragon that lights on fire. So it may be the case that there could be like something underneath
that spot.
Maybe that's where the Gleeok maybe that's where the home of the Gleeoks are. I don't know. It's just speculation. I still don't know how to even fight the Gleeoks yet. I think I need to play more of this game. Because I want to beat those things.
What do you mean how you fight them? Like, are they impenetrable to damage in certain areas?
So I ran into the Flame Gleeok when I came by Lake Hylia, the one that's shown in the trailers, and I tried to approach it.
Right.
I took a defense potion. Granted, I had 4 hearts, right? I didn't have any advanced clothing, but I kept on approaching it, and it just shoots from far away. Well, I mean, from far away, whatever you think is far for an enemy in Zelda, this is further than that. It has quite a range.
I'm imagining that it can shoot like all the way from the other side of the Bridge of Hylia.
Like halfway, like if you get on it's like sitting in the middle. It's sitting. My memory might be a little off, but I think it's sitting at one side of the bridge. When you're at the halfway point, it can blast you.
Okay.
Yeah, like you can't.
Still really far,
you can't get close to it without it firing a one-shot laser at you. Oh, 3 one-shot lasers at you, actually. So its range seems greater than your bow, or at least comparable.
Definitely.
Like now there are
way farther probably. Unless you have like a Keys arrow.
Yeah. If you use you can extend the range, but it's not like strong either. So I don't know how to get to it without just dying. I don't know. I attached like an ice chew jelly to my shield. I was like, all right, take this fire. It didn't do squat. It was like maybe it's a single piece of ice versus an endless stream of plasma, 3 of them. So it didn't work out for me. So I don't know how to beat it yet, but I'm still early game. I don't have a lot of defensive armor.
It's probably nearly impossible for you to do so at this point.
But the other thing, though, is that in theory, you can beat a Lionel without getting touched, right? So how can I beat... I think I should probably be able to be able to beat a Gleeok without getting touched. How can I do that? I did snipe the eyes. It doesn't seem to really stun them that much. It might stun... it does stun. It will stun, but it stuns one head. There's still the 2 others. So I'm not sure how to handle it yet. I will figure it out. But it's
try a bomb arrow. Might have enough of an explosive range to hit multiple heads.
Maybe. That might be an idea. And if I get like one of those... Remember how like in Breath of the Wild, there were like the 3 and 5 arrow shooting bows?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't gotten anything like that yet. So they may not even be in the game. I'm not sure.
But the Lionel I was attacking had one.
Oh, then they are in the game. So you can just take its bow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go. Lionel bow that's still a thing. Cool. Yeah. Looking through the chat here. Joshua, I wonder if you can go inside of a Citadel. Yeah, that's an interesting point, because you could do that in Age of Calamity. I wonder if you can do that in Tears of the Kingdom.
I don't know.
Yeah. Jean-Carl added me. How can Nintendo top Tears of the Kingdom? Nintendo's already planning the next game with other franchises. They are. How can they top it? I don't know. They might not.
They have to go into a different direction. I mean, people asked the same thing when Breath of the Wild came out. How do you make something bigger and better than Breath of the Wild? Well, they just did, so, I'm sure they'll figure something.
They also had to make a sequel. Granted, the sequel has so many changes that maybe they could make a game that's about as big as Tears of the Kingdom. with this.
I don't think it needs to be as big as Tears of the Kingdom if everything's new. Like actually brand new.
Yeah, I don't know.
Plus, I think, that it gets to the point where a bigger world isn't necessarily a better world. So,
Good point. That's true. It's not always
I
about.
don't think they need to always top things in terms of pure numbers, but come up with some kind of concept that allows you to do something, because they're going down this road of physics, and they have all these cool physics. But imagine what if they do something like water simulation physics or something for puzzles? That'd be cool. I
Yeah.
feel like there's more physics, like actually destructible environments is a direction they can go. Like I feel like there's a lot of ways that they can do that, when they separate themselves from Tears of the Kingdom.
What if they were to
and Breath of
do?
the Wild,
What if they were to do a Zelda game on a different planet?
I mean, they could do that for sure.
Like it's just like imagine like the implication of it would be that like the story of like Link and Zelda and Ganon, like it goes beyond just Hyrule. It's just kind of almost like it's something that can recur throughout the universe, and there's somewhere else off into distant reaches of space where it's an entirely different world with a different look and feel. Maybe the characters don't even look entirely human. They probably would make them look somewhat human, but maybe there's some differences. Like, and it could kind of afford them the ability to create an extremely new exotic world, and that would be a completely different take. And it could still have destructible environments, and it could just be something completely fresh and new, but it could still feel Zelda. They could still incorporate the legendary aspect to it, the magical aspect to it, the fantasy elements. Like that could still be in it. It would just be something more exotic. Just a one of many possible ways they could go to make the next game feel like something different and special.
Yeah.
Zelda in space, Fly Fox. There we go. There we go. Zero Cool, do you think we will get DLC?
100%.
I do. I just think they're waiting to kind of tie it into the next system.
Yeah. I don't think the DLC will come out before the next system.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to be part of their promotion for
the
Switch 2 version.
Watch as a direct in July, and they're like, yeah, you were wrong. DLC's now. Take that. Well, I don't know. Maybe. But they can wait. They can wait a little bit. They can wait a whole year before they announce DLC. Lex, do you think we'll get the Zora armor again to swim up waterfalls, or is that unnecessary now because of Ascend? I don't think
it's kind of unnecessary, but not entirely.
Not entirely, because if you're in water, you can't ascend the waterfall. So, and I'm pretty sure the Zora armor is still in the game. So I kind of doubt they would just get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean that is something I'm kind of disappointed in. Is there's a lot of stuff like that I unlocked in Breath of the Wild that I'm fighting, that I'm re-unlocking the same stuff. And there doesn't seem to be any differences to it. Like the clothing you get in the Lookout Town, it's just like the same type of clothing you can buy in Breath of the Wild. Doesn't seem to be anything different about it. I went underground. This isn't really a spoiler as much as it's just like a mechanic of the game, but you can find those like ghost soul things. They're money essentially, and you can trade them in for things. And one of them is a dark tunic, which I bought in Breath of the Wild already. Like I own this. I bought this before. This Link should have this. I don't understand why I'm buying the same thing again. There's not even really a lore explanation for that. You're just kind of like, well, I'm buying it again.
Also, there's a lot of characters
lame.
There's a lot of characters you met in Breath of the Wild that you're kind of meeting for the first time in Tears of the Kingdom, as well, like some of the NPCs. I think that one reason why they did things like this is because they just, it's not everyone playing Tears of the Kingdom will have played Breath of the Wild. And it kind of stands as its own game. And some people play Breath of the Wild in a different way, right? Like they may not have run into those characters. So they had to make some decisions somewhere. So they just treat Tears of the Kingdom as its own thing. But there are some characters that no one understand who Link is. There is a history there, but it can be played as if you've never played Breath of the Wild. So that's what I think it ultimately comes down to.
I'm just hoping that the stuff I'm finding that and unlocking that's the same as Breath of the Wild, just like just the tip of the iceberg. There's a ton, even more stuff that I have never seen before. That's what I'm assuming. It's just like just because I'm running across some stuff that I've that seems like it's taken straight out of Breath of the Wild, like the clothing and stuff. Some of it, I bet there's just as much clothing that I've never seen before that I can buy. So
Yeah. Spheromancer, I think Direct in July, DLC in December, Switch 2 in 2024, and Tears of the Kingdom for Switch 2 comes with the DLC. Could be. Could be. Sly Fox, a realistic sequel to Tears of the Kingdom could be Hyrule after it has been rebuilt, the highest developed Hyrule Kingdom, maybe?
I don't want another sequel to or I don't want a sequel to Tears of the Kingdom. I mean,
I think they should move on, but
I don't want a part 3.
I'll wait until after this game, after I finish this game before I fully say that, because it kind of depends, right? But I think they're probably gonna not do another follow-up to Tears of the Kingdom, not like a direct story sequel, but I haven't beaten the game, so it's hard to say for sure. I mean, even if I do beat the game, I still won't know for sure, but I'll have better perspective. But anyway, to your point though, like even if it could take place in the future where Hyrule is rebuilt totally, and Tears of the Kingdom could just be the past, and it could be a new Link in Zelda. It could still have a new art style. Like that's totally possible. Like Twilight Princess takes place like 100 years after Ocarina of Time. Like it could be something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not like a direct sequel in the sense that it uses like the same map and the same art style, like I definitely at least I need a new art style, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they handle the whole Hyrule thing, because the thing is, whenever they do a different Zelda, it's usually in a Hyrule, right? Like, so Ocarina of Time was in Hyrule.
Yeah,
Majora's
but it
Mask
always looks different.
Right. Majora's
like
Mask was in Termina, so that's how they got around Hyrule, because they just weren't in Hyrule for the sequel. But Wind Waker took place so far into the future that all of Hyrule was covered by ocean, which did a great job of changing the map totally, right? It was a completely different map. And by that point, so far into the future after Ocarina of Time, they're like, all right, well, we can go back to Hyrule normally now, but we're going to reimagine it. So it feels like a totally new map, right? And after that, they did Skyward Sword, which is so far into the past where Hyrule is very different. A lot of the game takes place in the sky and it's segmented, so it feels totally different too. And of course, they've used different art styles for all these games, except for Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And now with Breath of the Wild, it's been so long since Twilight Princess that they can revisit the standard map of Hyrule in a different part of the timeline far into the future with newer technology, and it's vastly different. It feels like a new world experience. Tears of the Kingdom is a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, but they spent like 6 years making this game look and feel really different. But still, it's an evolution of that map and story, so it is supposed to be recognizable, right? So, and that makes sense. Like getting to see these characters, getting to see Hyrule being rebuilt, that's cool. We want to see how this map progresses. But eventually, they do have to move on to something new. So do they wait? I mean, like I want to say that the next game, if it's in Hyrule, something will happen to Hyrule that'll make it completely different. What if they make Wind Waker 2 or something where it's back on the oceans? Doubt it. Maybe my crazy theory of it being on a different planet is what they do, or maybe it's in a different time where technology is a lot more prevalent. So you have like actual cities, like modern or futuristic cities, and there's still like wilderness and stuff, but it's separate, and it's like over like crazy wilderness, like giant trees, and you know, it like there could be a completely different kind of world. Like think maybe something like what I'm kind of thinking is near Automata, maybe, right? Except with some cities that aren't totally extinct, like maybe something like that, but with a lot more density and a more lively world and vast and open world, like something like that. I think could be a cool direction for the series, and it would feel totally different and new, because that would be a new map, right? If you do it in a time where it's futuristic cities, but also a completely overrun wild where everything's giant and crazy, like that could be a very new style of Zelda that would feel totally fresh from the current Hyrule. There's a number of different ways.
Xenoblade in a way.
Yes. Yes. That the
I would definitely.
Modelsoft works with the Zelda team, so that
Oh yeah.
yeah, that seems pretty conceivable to me.
I definitely enjoy them at least venturing outside of Hyrule. Like I love the fact that Majora's Mask went to Termina. That's such a cool place.
Yeah, and then
I
there was
want more.
Link's
outside of just
Awakening
Hyrule.
was on an island, right? So that was a
Yep.
that was a different area too of the world. So they could just go to a totally new location. That's another option. It's possible. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways they can move forward, and it's kind of a guessing game until we get some more ammunition. But I think we're reaching kind of the end of the podcast, guys. We can go on about Zelda. We'll be talking about Zelda for a long time, but
You know what we haven't talked about
yeah,
that I want to touch on briefly.
put out your final questions now, guys. So I'll try and get to a few questions before I close out. But Brandon, yeah, go for it.
We haven't talked about the graphics at all, and I feel like it's both less disappointing than I thought, but also more disappointing compared to like 2019. Like back in 2019 when we got that reveal trailer, which has ended up being essentially completely changed by the final release. There's basically no scene in there that's actually in the game now, which I think is. I don't think that was quite intentional. Like I don't think they just mocked up something that wasn't actually in the game and just because it wasn't ready. I think they were just kind of like the vision changed over the course because there's a long development time after that. I do think some things they might have faked though, like the amount of extra graphical details that was going to be in the game. Like that trailer looks like you can instantly look at that 2019 trailer and be like, yeah, this looks way better than Breath of the Wild.
The rocks
It's
look a lot more detailed in that teaser trailer.
So a lot more geometry in general.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we haven't seen everything yet. That stuff might still. What's interesting is that that area that we explore in the beginning of the game. I haven't found that yet. Like I'm kind of now thinking about it would be kind of cool to find that.
I know where it is. Like I can't. I don't know how to get to it.
Oh, that's right. It's below Hyrule Castle. Maybe I could just go there and find it.
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's quite clear that the 2019 trailer looks better. Other than the parts where they showed off Hyrule, looked the same.
Yeah, that part looked the same.
Just Hyrule. But that first part of the trailer before then definitely looked a lot better. But the game doesn't look exactly the same as Breath of the Wild either. Even in the areas that they haven't really changed that much, like the texture detail is way better. I was talking about this on Twitter for Xenoblade 3. One of the cool things about the DLC is, I'm going to try to explain this in the most simplified way possible.
I mean, Brandon, I said I was ending the podcast, and you decided to have a graphics discussion.
Shut up. But there's an effect used in both games, but it was used obviously in Xenoblade 3's DLC first, called parallax occlusion mapping, and I won't go into any more detail other than it makes the textures look like they have more depth and more polygons than they actually do.
Yeah, I saw
so if you look at like a wall, you see like little creases and divots and dents in the wall, and there's other like incidental little details on surfaces. All of that's fake. If you look at the wall like real flat, and I showed this off on Twitter, I might upload another one for Tears of the Kingdom because there's actually even better examples I've found in that game where it's more obvious.
So like the murals have a lot. They look like they have a lot of depth.
Yeah. Like if you look at the walls, like in the beginning of the game, when you're looking at like the wall carvings and things, they look like there's a lot of like depth and detail and like intricate carvings on things. I found this one. I want to go back and record it for Twitter. But there's Korok puzzles. You know how in the older game there would be like random blocks on the ground. You kind of like have to fit into different shapes in order to complete them and get the Korok seed. They kind of have that as well. It's just like stacks of bricks, where they have like a swirl design that looks like it juts out and has this like three-dimensional like swirl that comes off it. It actually looks really convincing. But if you look like at a harsh angle, you can see the blocks are completely flat. They're just all surfaces are completely flat, but like it looks like it's chipped and has like this swirl coming off it. Like it looks like it has a lot of geometry to it, but it's actually just like really low poly. So they're using that kind of parallax occlusion mapping technique, which looks really, really good, and adds a lot of a lot more depth to the textures and the environments. I think that looks really good. I was really hoping they would use that after I saw it in the. I mean, first we talked about this like months ago, back when they came out with that patent. The one that people were like, oh, this might be for clouds in Tears of the Kingdom. And then I was like, I don't think it's for clouds. I think it's for like textures, because it talked about like occlusion mapping and things. I'm pretty sure they're using that same technique in Xenoblade 3 and in this game. So that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the visuals, and I feel that a lot of the game looks better. Textures look better. A lot of them do. It feels like there's more just kind of like things in the overall. There's a lot more going on. We can see further out, obviously, like we can go to the skies, to the surface, and the underground all seamlessly. That's all impressive. I even feel like the lighting is better. Especially when on the sky islands and you see the sun setting, it feels very apparent that the lighting effects have changed compared to what they were in Breath of the Wild, and it feels better. Something else is kind of a cool effect. When you're in the caves, you can see like a mist or a fog, and you can interact with that fog a bit. And that's a cool, nice little effect. So I kind of feel like the overall, like the atmospheric effects are better. And I already mentioned the lighting and the shadowing and the textures. Like the game looks better. Does it look substantially better? I mean, that's a relative term, right? For some people, the difference may be more subtle. Some people think it looks exactly the same. I think if you kind of compare the two side by side, you will see that there are differences.
You can tell the differences.
Yeah.
It is the kind of game where if you just look at it without seeing a comparison, your brain kind of tricks you to think it looks pretty much exactly the same. But if you compare them, you can definitely see a big difference in like texture detail across the world. But it's nothing that's like game changing. The one thing I would have liked to see is I don't like the image quality. I think the resolution looks quite low a lot of the time. There's tons of aliasing everywhere. It's really obvious. I wish they were using an upscaler like in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and in the DLC. I don't understand why Monolith didn't just have them use that. Maybe it was too expensive on the CPU. I don't know how that would work. It should just be a GPU base effect. I don't know. But the image quality of the game is real rough. But that should be a big selling point for the Switch 2 version, the 4K DLSS. It should look a lot cleaner. Especially with, like, higher shadow map resolution too, because those alias a ton, because I feel like the shadows have very low resolutions. Those are my only two real big gripes with the game's visuals compared to like how they looked in the later trailers. Because, I mean, all the trailers after the 2019 trailer look pretty much like the game, just running at a higher resolution with anti-aliasing essentially, and maybe some higher shadow map settings. And that's pretty much it. That's just... The game never looked as good as the 2019 trailer after that, even in the other trailers. So I was kind of expecting it to look this way. But I would like it if the image quality was as good as it is in the trailers, because it's definitely not even close.
Yeah, I did notice like some pop in the underground. Like you could see like a lot of like flowers kind of like showing up pretty like right in front
really
of you.
Close. Yeah, like right in front of your feet.
Yeah, and I was like, why is this happening? Like they could have just.
It almost feels like a bug.
Maybe it is a bug. I don't know. But like it's one
I
of
don't
the.
think it is.
Yeah, it's
it
one of
just
those.
Looks like one.
It's one of those things where like they could just not have that much flower detail. It would have been fine. They didn't even need to add that.
Yeah, I've noticed that in Xenoblade 3 in the DLC, there's often some surprisingly low resolution textures where I'm just like, but layered on top, like texture detail, like a carpet or something that's on the ground, but it's like obscenely low resolution. I'm like, why didn't you just remove that key? That would we would be fine without that decorative rug that looks so awful. Because most of the textures in that game are really good, but then they'll just have like layered on textures over it of like some other detail in the environment that look awful, and I don't understand why they do that.
Tough to say. I mean, a lot of people like to complain that the Switch is dated hardware, and it is. But
Yeah.
at least when it comes, I mean, I thought Future Redeemed looked pretty good,
Oh
and
yeah, I thought the parallax mapping and that looked even more impressive than the Breath of the Wild or the Tears of the Kingdom implementation,
yeah,
just because it has more realistic texturing.
sure. But what I was gonna say is just I just think Tears of the Kingdom across the board is a pretty good looking game, and
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun. The game is fun. It's visually appealing. It sounds great. Yes, I agree. Sly Fox's sound is so much better now.
Oh
Sound
yeah.
effects.
I love the sound.
Yeah.
Like when you're in the awakening chamber in the sky, and like you have that long corridor, and then you can like hear the birds out in the distance. They have the audio so well, like it sounds. You can hear the birds like echoing up the hallway. You can really hear like how far away they are and like their positioning really well. At least on my headphones, they sound like I can tell like where they are. It sounds really good.
Yeah, for sure. Looking here at the chat, just cover a couple quick things and then we'll call it a night. Jared Bowen saying they've done Wind Waker 2 and 3, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. Yeah, when I said when I
count.
Yeah, when I said Wind Waker 2, I wasn't talking about story. I meant like in terms of like just revisiting the concept of like exploring the open sea. Like that
I mean,
might be cool.
They did it in 2D, but that doesn't count. I mean, we
Right.
mean 3D.
We want like a 3D open world adventure. Yeah, but like imagine like what they could do if they were to do like a modern Zelda that's open air, but it takes place on the sea. That could be kind of crazy. So I don't know. Maybe that'll be maybe that'll be a massive DLC quest for Tears of the Kingdom.
I mean, with bigger islands, it could work.
Yeah. But imagine though if there was like a DLC quest for Tears of the Kingdom, and what it does, it just opens up the map to the east, so it just adds a whole ocean section, and what it is that like there's more pirates, and there's more sea islands, but you can go underwater, and there's the underground, right? So and then how the water interacts with the underground, there's like some environments and gameplay there, and they add more sky islands, and it's just kind of like this big chunk they add to the eastern part of the map, and there's like a little adventure there. Like that would be kind of cool.
Fun.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I think it'd be fun, but that's just one of many random ideas. Samuel A added me, next Zelda will be a fresh new thing and probably realistic graphics like Twilight Princess, but in the modern era. Zelda Wii U demo. I think that would look cool.
Like that.
It would look really cool for sure.
Something more semi-realistic.
Yeah, but we've got years to talk about the next Zelda, so we'll talk more about that in a bit. But that is all for now, everyone. Thank you all so much for listening and watching. If you could leave a like, that'd be super appreciated. And if you're new here, try subscribing. We talk about Nintendo every day, and actually lately it's been like twice a day. So yes, lots of content coming, but that's all for now. See you later. Bye.
Bye, guys.